All right, everybody. Good morning. Welcome into the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio here on our Sunday morning tradition that continues on here into our 15th season. As keep getting messages. We might have somebody join us here this morning. Let me check. There's a couple of texts. Okay, all right, very good. Very good. Good. All right. So, just to give you an idea, I don't know where anybody is today. I've been running so late today, and because I am the hardest working man in sports radio, haven't had a lot of time to speak with everybody because of work. I had a long old day yesterday and everything else. But that being said, of course, that's the name of the show. We are here. Cuervo says he is going to be here. He's going to bail a little bit early because his stepdaughter is having a baby thing. I forgot what it's baby thing. Let's find out. All right. It is ultrasound appointment for his stepdaughter, and he's going to be attending that. So that being said, so he's going to bail a little bit early. But today, on the list today, it is one AFC North and the NFC South. And these are the previews that we have been doing here for the last couple of weeks. We had Tom McManus, former Jacksonville Jaguar, join us last week up on the show, talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then, of course, we looked at the AFC South. So today is the North. And guys, I always talk about this division of football because it is one of the best. Within the realm of the NFL, the AFC North is one of my favorites because you want to talk about, doing the old Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get. That's what's going on here as far as the NFC North is concerned. You don't know. Will the Steelers be good? I don't know. Will the Browns show up? I don't know. The other teams, the Baltimore Ravens, what are they going to do? And then you got the Cincinnati Bengals. Will they bounce back? There's so much to talk about the AFC North. And, of course, we got two guys that come on this show regularly, talk about their teams, that being Bryce from Brooklyn. So hopefully he joins us for the Steelers. And Obi, I sent a message. He didn't answer. I know he saw it, though. I said, Obi, where are you? Are you going to be here? So I'm hoping Obi gets the opportunity to join us here because I see him. I got his name there. So he knows I want him here. So hopefully he will be joining us a little bit later. I don't know what's going on with the Podfather, if and when he's going to be able to get in today. I know he's been doing a lot of overtime. I know he's been doing a lot of sleeping with that overtime. I know he picks up his munchkins. So I don't know. Now, also on tap today, it is the NFC South. We will be doing the NFC South today. The Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints. What's the team I'm missing? The Buccaneers. So we'll be looking at those guys and talking about the things that have been going on. That having been said, of course, that's the name of the show. We'll take a look at some of the things that happened in the preseason games that happened yesterday. Lots of good stuff as far as preseason is concerned. I haven't really been interested in watching preseason a lot, mainly because, you don't see anything. But I'm developing more of an appreciation for the preseason than I have in years. And it's maybe because there's so many things that are going on. We're going to be talking about a lot of the news that has happened. J.J. McCarthy from Minnesota, gone for the year, but they go and beat Cleveland 27-12 yesterday, and that wasn't even close, by the way. But again, these are the second and thirds. And now, And one thing I just hate because I didn't come up with it, it was Bryce from Brooklyn. It's not about 1 through 11. It's about 12 through 53 or whatever. I think the roster is 53. But it's about that part on how well you're going to play for the rest of the season. How you're going to go through your season will depend upon these guys, whether it's because of injuries, whether it's because somebody has to come out for whatever reason. So I find that when those kind of things happen, when you're trying to figure out who's going to do what, it makes a big difference on who ends up where. Now, does that mean that the 1 through 11 aren't going to be there the whole year? No, a lot of times you get guys, but really in reality, it's how you pick up from when your team is either beaten, injuries, or whatever the case may be. You got to have your backups be good. Your backups have got to play a major role in what you do from week in to week out. So that being said, of course, that's the name of this show. I'm going to start with Dallas. And the reason being, I don't have anybody in here to talk about the divisions yet. So I'm going to talk about some of the news that's coming out. And it's all about, it seems to be lately, it's all about Dak Prescott. Why? He's about to reset the quarterback position and contracts. Some are even talking about $60 million. And I'm having a hard time hearing that number for. Listen, I love me some Dak Prescott. Don't get me wrong. Now, I might have a little guest on the show a little bit later today. Not a little guest, a guest on the show a little bit later. That is not a Dak Prescott fan, and I like his position on it. But we're going to see what's going to end up happening. But here's Dak Prescott talking about the contracts, what he's talking about, what's going to happen, and things like that. So let's take a look at this. I got no audio on that. What the heck? Or maybe I do. Let's see if.
Oh, that was terrible. Crazy knuckleheaded terrible.
Did not get any audio on that. That bothers me. Okay. All right. So, but Dak Prescott is, the big subject right now. And the Dallas Cowboys are always a big subject when you're talking about it. But about ready to do this, Troy Aikman had something to say about Dak Prescott. And he seems to think that he's going to be the first $60 million quarterback. But here, when he says that he thinks he's going to be playing for somebody else, that's big news. But here's why I don't think it is. It's mainly because what are the Cowboys going to do? Are they going to, obviously, if they lose Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys are a team that are, what do they always say? America's team, right? It's always something like that. America's team. Well, does America's team go with a no-name draft out? I don't think they can, based upon a couple of things. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones's age and what he is doing, where he is, what he's doing week in, week out, tells me something here. You don't want to start over from scratch. And I get what everybody's saying about Dak Prescott. I completely understand it. And it's not without being, some legitimate reasons. But you're talking about a guy that has done so much. 12 wins here, 12 wins there. It's insane how well that the Dallas Cowboys are. And I'm going to tell you the reason why as well. When the Dallas Cowboys score over 30 points a game, last year they were 14-2. 14-2. The year before that, they were 11-1 in games that they scored over 30. And that one loss was in the playoffs. So here's my thinking, and I've been saying it all day long, and I'm almost tired of Dak Prescott having the weight of this football team on his back, especially when the last two seasons they have went, let's see here, just do the math. They've gone 25-3 in over 30 points. If you score over 30 points a game in the NFL, you should win that football game. So where's the defense? How many times does Dak Prescott have to pick up for the defense? And we can sit here and blame Dak Prescott because it's the easiest thing to do. But I'm telling you right now, I think this is a mistake. Now, I can't count for the money. Okay? If he becomes a $60 million dude, I think that's insane. But as far as the business side of it, that's what the business side is. You cannot be a team and not have, well, being the Dallas Cowboys, and not have your guy at the quarterback position. We can sit here and talk about it all day. And the importance of a backup quarterback is going to be there. Just take a look at Minnesota. Losing J.J. McCarthy, and the guy hasn't played one full game as far as a real game. He's played in preseason. And the first preseason he's done for the year, it changes the dynamics, especially of the NFC North. So, it's kind of crazy. But Dak Prescott about ready to set the whole thing all again. And I don't know, good, bad, or indifferent, how that does. Now, they did get the victory in Las Vegas, 27-12 last week, or last night. And the funny thing about that, the over and under in that game was 40, and they came at 39. So interesting how good even Vegas gets preseason games. But some of the other games that went on, Jacksonville Jaguars, they looked okay. Now, I know what I've said about, and I'm not changing my opinion on it, okay? But I'm going to tell you right now, the backup situation with Mac Jones seems to be solidified right now for him to be slated as the number 2. So that means Trevor Lawrence needs to stay healthy, because I really don't want to see Mac Jones with 0 reps at week 6 or 7 when Trevor happens to go down, and then these defenses have been, motoring. How he's going to respond to motoring defenses, because you can say whatever you want about the preseason, it is not as fast after week 5 or 6 of the NFL season. The speed is just almost night and day. It's almost hard to watch the preseason games because of it. But Jacksonville gets the win over Tampa Bay, 20-7. Rams 13-9 over the LA Chargers. Then Buffalo Bills beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Bryce has got to be worried. Russell Wilson looked horrible in that game. Horrible. And by the way, Justin Fields didn't look much better at all. And that's a tough thing. If you're, and by the way, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you're not very happy about 9 points only being scored last night. Washington takes a loss against Miami in Miami 13-6. Arizona, everybody's talking about the bounce back of the Arizona Cardinals. And by the way, I haven't seen it. I went back and watched the Indianapolis game. I'm not seeing it. I know everybody's talking about, Larry Fitzgerald's replacement, basically. And I'm just not seeing it. The Tennessee Titans get a 1-point victory over Seattle, 16-15. The Carolina Panthers take the loss to the Jets, 15-12. Minnesota, again, backup quarterback, no J.J. McCarthy, working what they're doing. I got something to talk about in that in a moment. 27-12. The Kansas City Chiefs take a 1-point loss to the Detroit Lions, 24-23. And the Giants take the loss from the Houston Texans, 28-10. And I guess I gotta say it. The Baltimore Ravens, a 1-point victory over Atlanta. I got a lot to say about that game, but how about the Bears? The Bears get the victory, 27-3 yesterday. So interesting stuff. I'm going to throw up some quick video here.
Take a look. Williams pressure coming. He felt it. Looked, saw it, evaded it. Still on the move. Looking around. Williams is going to take off for the end zone.
Scrambles, gets into the end zones. Congratulations, by the way. Looking good. However, did you watch the speed of that play? That's what I'm talking about. The speed of that play just seems so slow. But Caleb Williams, so far, and Cuervo, he's got a lot of love right now for his Bears, and he should. I watched the first episode of the Bears. I have not watched the second one. I was going to do it yesterday, but decided to nap because of a long day at work. So I'm going to watch the second episode of the Bears in Hard Knocks and see some of the stuff. But, Bears liking so far what they see. But again, when I looked at that video, I didn't see outstanding speed. Watch it again. I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about. Watch this again.
Williams pressure coming. He felt it. Looked, saw it. Evaded it. Still on the move. Looking around. Williams is going to take off for the end zone.
And by the way, also, when you see those defenders, man, they just did not look like they were giving it all. Now, I'm not going to take away from the play. The play was great. But you're not going to see that in the NFL season at that slowest pace. I'm sorry. I've been watching football for years and years and years, especially it's faster. And those defensive players are going to be faster. And those defensive players are going to work a little bit harder to get to the quarterback. I know it's taken away a little bit from Caleb Williams and what he did, but it is what it is. And I just got a message from Obi. So he's going to not be able to get into the show to talk about his Browns. And I'm going to send him a little message for big man. See ya soon. So he's not going to be able to get in there. But we'll get what Obi feels about the Cleveland Browns, when he comes in. All right. So we've seen that play. So I want you to watch this one as well. This was also something that I felt was very interesting. Watch this.
Mahomes keeps it, goes behind the back. Kelsey's got it for the first down. How do you like that?
A little behind the back action from Patrick Mahomes. Again, I go back to that speed. I'm not impressed with the speed. So when I see what's going on as far as the game is concerned, in these preseason games, you're going to slowly see, and it'll even be in week one, it'll be a little bit slower. than regular. And then about week 3 or 4, you're going to see full speed for the rest of the season. So that's the opportunity for a team like the Bears, like maybe the Falcons, or maybe the Panthers, or the teams that are not great, to get an opportunity to have a chance to win games early on in the season. Week 1 through 3, it's always kind of weird to see where teams are going. And I know in week number 1, there's going to be some picks that I get what people are talking about. But when I'll take a look at those picks, it's going to be interesting to see who will pick and why. By the way, we're going to get our Pick'em League up here. I'll get that set probably tomorrow. Everybody who wants to be a part of that will get there. And I do have to apologize to the Potfather. We're having a hard time getting the plaque because we're having a hard. So I'm going to probably do something a little bit different to get his trophy for winning. I feel bad. He's been very patient, but I will get him. But we will give out a trophy on this one as well for this upcoming season, and I'll get that over to him. So hail to the Podfather. Very patient. And I appreciate that. So that being said, now I got somebody in the green room, so I'm going to replay it. I don't know how much of the diatribe he heard from me, but I'm going to put this on because it'll make him happy. So I'll do that. Let's do that. So let's bring it. Watch this.
Williams pressing coming. He felt it. Looked, saw it, evaded it. Still on the move. Looking around. Williams is going to take off for the end zone.
There you go. Cuervo, good to see you, my friend. Hey, looking good. Yeah, loving his Bears stuff this morning. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
And I got the shirt on representing the city.
Yeah, the Windy
Sonny,
City.
how are you this morning, my friend?
I'm actually really good. Now, I don't. Again, how much were you able to hear any of what we were talking about? Because I want to hop back a little bit. Did you hear any of what I was saying?
No, I literally just logged on. I went on Facebook and I shared the live feed, and
Gotcha.
I heard you talking something Bears. I was like, oh, here we go.
It was a good thing, obviously. I mean, I put the video up just for you. I got that, and I was like, I'm going to make Cuervo happy this morning. But I want to ask you, okay, so we're going to watch it one more time just so you can get the smile.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
Wrong one, sorry. I had Bears and I hit the wrong button. So I want you to watch.
Wrong button.
Yeah, wrong button. Watch this, and I want to get your take up on the play. So one more time, let's watch this. This is Caleb Williams, doing the scramble, I guess you can call it.
Williams pressing coming. He felt it. Looked, saw it, evaded it. Still on the move. Looking around. Williams is going to take off for the end zone.
All right. So that being said, hold on. Now, Cuervo, we got somebody in the green room. I want to bring him on in. He is going to be with us on our football calls of the Saxy Mustang. He also does his own show. I'm going to bring him on in. And you ready, Will? Will, I got something for you. Just for you. Here we go. All right, so there he is. It is Dollar. I thought you put Dollar Bill on there. That's what I thought you did. I spell your name right anyway. Dollar Bill.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You did. Yes,
I'll make it better when I did that in like 5 minutes. I'm gonna change it and get a little bit better. So it is Dollar Bill. William Bush. Good morning. How you doing, my friend?
Yes, sir. I am great, Mr. Clark. How about yourself?
You can't tell I'm fantastic. I mean, I'm fantastic. It's Sunday. We're talking football and the NFL. So I'm going to put you on hold for just a moment. I'm going to shoot back over to my co-host here, Cuervo. I just want to get your take upon the play and what you thought you saw on the play and get your take on it. What was your take upon the play?
Honestly, Sonny, I mean, it's nothing I haven't seen, from a previous quarterback. And it's not to downplay what he did. It's just, to get overly excited about it. It's like, well, I saw the same stuff from Justin Fields last year. So
Right.
it wasn't anything different or something that makes you say, oh, see, this is why we decided to move on from Justin Fields and keep that number 1 pick to get Caleb Williams, because that run reminded me a little bit of what Fields brought last year.
Mm-hmm.
The other play that he made yesterday with that throw to Rome Odunze, I think is what really sets those two apart, because you got to ask yourself, would Fields have been able to make a throw like that? And that's why you see the change that happened in Chicago, going from Fields to drafting Caleb number 1.
Well, I got a pro and con of it, okay? The pro is obviously doing the scramble, but it was different than Justin Fields. Justin Fields usually tucked that head down and looked for the hole and went down. More so compared to what we've seen with Caleb Williams, had his head up in case that he could throw the football. So I think there was a big difference there, and I saw that, and I thought it was so evident compared to it. Now, the other thing about that is not getting too excited about that play, because the speed of that play, if you go back and watch that, that is not the speed of week 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the NFL. That's speed 1, 2, and 3 until they get underneath their feet and everything. And you saw the defense. The defense was horrible on that play in reality. Not to take away from the play, but it's still at the same time we saw the good, the bad of that play. So something to keep your eye out as far as Caleb Williams. Dollar Bill, what do you think when you saw the play? Did you see the video? Were you in there when I did it? As far as what Caleb Williams, did you see the play I was talking about?
I didn't see the specific play that you're talking about, but I did check out some of that game versus the Bengals and the Bears, that preseason game, and I'm right on board with both of you guys, Sonny and Cuervo. Caleb Williams, it's definitely evident why the Bears have drafted him, and it's obvious right away. Just some of the throws, some of the plays that he's been able to make, and just outside of preseason alone, just some of the throws that he's been making inside of practice, because he's been getting raised from some of these pro wide receivers like Keenan Allen. This is a veteran who's been in the league 10 plus years, and he's making raves about some of the throws that he's been seeing from Caleb Williams, and just some of the throws that DJ Moore and some of these other veteran guys are saying about him, and that have actually played with Justin Fields as well. So, front office, some of these guys, they definitely know that they've made the right pick, and it's obvious right away.
Well, they got their superstar, and Cuervo sent us a message in our group chat. We got to get you on Messenger, because that's where a lot of our stuff goes. But he made they got their guy, and I've been hearing he's the biggest superstar since Michael Jordan. Cuervo, I mean, obviously he's getting the hype. It's all going to be about 1 through 18, though. In reality, on how much he can keep that hype going on.
Mm-hmm.
And just to let you know, Will, he's on a little delay.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to, say welcome. I might have to restart them, but I was going to tell Dollar Bill, I appreciate you coming on, and if you're going to be with us all season, then
that's definitely
appreciate
the goal.
You joining
That's
us.
the plan. That's the plan.
Yeah, this whole okay. Well, we're happy to have you on board, man. As far as saying he's the next Mike, let's slow down with that. We haven't even gotten into the regular season yet. You know what I mean? Like it was cool to see. I don't know if you guys been watching the Hard Knocks. It was cool to see the with the Bulls, Ray Clay, the guy that used to do the intros for the Bulls back in the day, to see him do that on Hard Knocks. But I think we need to slow down a little bit. Look, the city of Chicago, they're beyond excited about it. I know wish I was back home to witness everything in time. But let's. I think we need to slow down with the whole stuff, because he hasn't established anything in his career yet.
All right, now, Will, just to kind of give you a heads up, if you have some headphones, that would be best because we're getting a little feedback up on it as far as that is concerned. So if you have some headphones, that's great. If not, well, you'll see that I'll either mute you for a minute or whatever the case may be. So we'll work with that. I just want to give you a heads up on that we're not,
Gotcha.
get you squared. So that being said, all right. Now, we're going to be talking about the AFC North. We will do that a little bit later, and or when Bryce said he'd be able to jump in a little bit. Bryce from Brooklyn, he'll be joining us. A Steeler fan. We'll be talking about that. There's lots of news coming out of Pittsburgh, so I'm really interested to get his take up on what's going on in Pittsburgh. So, that being said, I want to shoot it over to Will Bush here. We're going to talk a little bit about and Dallas and Dak Prescott about ready to really change the way contracts are going to be written for quarterbacks here in the future. All right. Good, bad, or indifferent. It is just the way the NFL is, and quarterbacks and what you got as far as a quote unquote franchise quarterback. I've watched some of Will's shows, and I don't necessarily think he's a big Dak Prescott fan. So I want to see what he thinks about the resetting of the quarterback structure on contracts. What's your take up on Dak Prescott? And then we're going to hop into the NFC South. What's your take there?
So my take on Dak and the current quarterback market is, well, Sonny, to answer your question, I am a Dak Prescott fan. I want him to succeed and the fullest. I just probably don't want him doing it for the Dallas Cowboys. What I've seen over the past 8 years, it's what you're gonna get. You got to get what you're gonna get from Dak Prescott. And for the current quarterback market and just the restructuring and the next man up mentality of these quarterbacks, I definitely don't think it's the best direction for the league and the best way to take it, because some of these quarterbacks aren't necessarily deserving of these contracts. These are top dollar, high dollar contracts that are pretty much 75% of the base cap for these teams. And for one player to be eating up the majority of that, you need to be a caliber of player that's taking this team to the next level. And what I've seen from Dak Prescott over the past 9 years is not high caliber play. He is a very, very good quarterback. Do not get me wrong at all, Sonny. Very good quarterback. He can make some of the best throws, can do pretty much anything that you ask. But when it comes to some of those throws that you need him to make, some of those plays that you need him to make whenever it's crunch time, whenever it's key time, whenever it's winning time, so they like to say, he can't make it, and he kind of shrinks under that pressure. And that's not what you need from a guy that's getting paid top dollar amount in the league. When you're talking about some of these guys that's getting paid the $200+ million for their contracts, I need you to take my team to at least the conference championship. And over the past 8 seasons, we haven't at least gotten that from Dak Prescott. And that's a problem if you're going to be asking for what he's asking for.
Well, there are a lot of quarterbacks that have not done what you were talking about for Dak Prescott and are still getting the numbers we're seeing these guys, like you said. But we also go back to Cuervo, what we talked about up on this show. Who are you going to get? The Dallas Cowboys, if they decide to make the turn and get rid of a Dak Prescott, what are they going to do? Now, it's a little bit different because you're the Dallas Cowboys. It's not like you're the Cleveland Browns. It's not like you're the Carolina Panthers. You're America's team. You can't just roll some rookie in there. This is not the 70s when you've seen, and the 80s when you've seen like the Troy Aikman going, winning one game through the whole season. That's not going to be acceptable today. So the Dallas Cowboys, if they decide to go on from Dak, what are they going to replace him with? We always say that. I mean, Minnesota's got that problem. J.J. McCarthy's gone. Now, who are you going to replace him with? Some big stories on that. So, if the Dallas Cowboys do take the turn, Cuervo, where do they go with the quarterback position if it's not a Dak Prescott?
Well, Sonny, I mean, well, Minnesota's got Sam Darnold, but that's not really saying much, right? But when it comes to Dallas, though, I mean, the only guy I can think of that you can just throw in there right away and people are going to be excited about, that ain't going to happen until next year. You might have to see if Quinn Ewers from Texas is going to declare for the draft and then draft him in the first round or whatever. Like, that'd be the only way the city of Dallas would be excited with that, a quick turnaround of a quarterback. But other than that, I mean, you know, it's just like Will said. I mean, when it comes to games on the line, Dak, you'll get one, maybe two per season that he actually does come through and he'll win you a game. But for every one or two that he gives you, there's another two or three that he doesn't come through. So as a organization, the Cowboys got to ask themselves, are we okay with these results? Are we okay with continuing to have these results? Because nowadays, I mean, it's very, 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 very rare that you see a quarterback blossom into something different. Their game changes, especially as late as Dak is in his career.
Yep.
I think the Cowboys got to realize he is who he is. Like, what you've seen from Dak, that's who he is. Bottom line, there's nothing that's going to change about that. So, you know, honestly, I don't blame Dallas for kind of pumping the brakes on wanting to pay him $50-60 million a year, because you're gonna take a look. You're gonna see all these other teams that are paying these guys in the 50s and the 60s. They're gonna go back and they're gonna think, damn, we messed up. You know, because is Jared Goff going to be able to get the Lions to a Super Bowl? Is Jordan Love going to be able to get Green Bay to a Super Bowl? God, I hope not. Is Jalen Hurts going to be able to get back with Philadelphia? These are guys that have all gotten that $50 million bag per season, and you know it's all the same goal that they're reaching. But there's only one guy that's really consistently been able to do it, and he's the one that's going to either stop you from winning or you'll find a way to overcome that. So, you know, the next guy that gets it, it's got to be somebody that either has reached the Super Bowl or can actually win it.
So here's what I'm going to throw out here for you. I just want to keep in mind, I went and did a little investigation on Dak Prescott. Okay. And I don't know how much people heard from before, so I'm going to repeat what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Dak Prescott, 14-2 last season, okay, when they've scored over 30 points. The year before that, 11-1. That loss was in the playoffs when they've scored more than 30 points a game. So somewhere, somehow, you've got to find a way to blame and put more blame either A, on the defense a little bit more, have them take more responsibility for it, or B, you're going to have to figure out how he's going to have to score 40 points a game to win, which he has done, by the way. He scored 40 points many times a couple of years back and won those games. But this has got to be the all-around for the Dallas Cowboys. You've got to get in there. You've got to score. You got to stop them from scoring. And if you're going to depend upon Dak Prescott to throw, you know, to put up 30 to 40 points a game to win a game, then that's a problem. Then that's a problem up on the defense, okay? So now, as stellar as the quote-unquote defense has been, you know, the last couple of years, which, by the way, I think it just gets overshadowed with one guy getting, you know, a lot of interceptions or whatever the case may be. But when you're not winning, when you're winning games, you know, scoring 30 points, that tells me a lot about your defense and how much they are giving up in order for them to win. So that's something that I've been keeping in mind as far as that is concerned, to where they always say the quarterback gets too much of the heat, and when they win, they get too much of the praise. So it's kind of one of those things that I'm seeing as far as he is concerned. All right. Some things here. It looks like we got, will Deshaun Watson stay healthy? Does it matter? AFC North, It is. It's the AFC North for a reason. It is that way. I love it. It's one of my favorite divisions of football. Big contracts, and they are a big part of that as too. Deshaun Watson, the big part of those contracts that we've been just talking about with one Dak Prescott. Now, we're not going to hop into the AFC North yet because we're going to wait. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into our previews here. And so we're going to go ahead and start in the NFC South. Okay, so we're going to look at these teams now. Dollar Bill don't know how we do it, so I'm just going to review it and let you know how we do it here when we are doing what we're doing as far as the previews are concerned. I'm going to start with the team I think is going to end up in fourth place within that division. Okay. And that being said, and then I'll go up and then I'll get your predictions and I will write them down in the trusty book. And we kind of keep track of it, even though we kind of forget about it later, but at the same time,
everything's set in stone if it's in the book, huh?
Right. And also, I'll get you the invite for our weekly pick'em game that we do through Yahoo.
Okay.
I don't understand. Some people think that the ESPN one's bad. Listen, you got to keep it old school. You got to keep it easy for Sonny when we're doing this. So we're going to be doing it through Yahoo just because that's easy. And it's all about me anyway. It's my show. So there you go. All right. So that being said, the team that when I'm looking at that's right. And bow down to Trey Mack. By the way, I made the apology. We're having a hard time finding our tile in order to get him his trophy for winning. So hopefully I'll be able to get that done real quick. All right. So the NFC South, interesting division. And it just all depends on what you're going to think. What's going to happen with certain additions that have been added to certain teams within that division of football. It has not been the greatest. We all know this, okay? But one of the things that I've noticed, out of a lot of things, some things don't change, okay? And for the team that I think is going to finish last in this division, this is the thing that I have in front of me right here. The last 3 years of this football team, we have seen nothing. Okay. Whether, it's excitement about one player but as a coming together for a football team, we're just not seeing it in the Saints. The Saints have been one of these teams that cannot get over the hump. They get Derek Carr, and they think that that's one of the things that's going to get them over the hump. And that's not necessarily what we've been seeing as far as the Saints. So then I took a look at the actual schedule for this football team. Now, this is somebody else's picks, wins, and picks. And I'm looking at them, and I don't see 9 at all. And mainly because of what they've been doing for the last couple of years as far as this football team is concerned, week in and week out. Players not here or breakdown here or there, depending on who they're playing. But the New Orleans Saints, so I'll throw this over to Cuervo. Cuervo, the New Orleans Saints are a team that has been lackluster at best for the last 4 to 5 seasons. We've seen the record there. What's your take? I got them finishing last in this division because of what we have seen, and history has not changed very much.
Yeah, that's true, Sonny. I mean, the history is what it is with the Saints, and I thought I was going to be the only one that had them finishing last, but yeah, I got them finishing last as well. I think it's just more in part because I haven't really seen, and I got to bring my notes up. I haven't even brought my notes up yet, but I can't think off the top of my head of what have the New Orleans Saints done anything to improve their team. On top of that, actually, I think their team is worse this year because I don't think Michael Thomas is part of the team anymore. I think that they lost. Who else did they lose? I know they lost somebody else too, and I can't think of who it is. But I know Michael Thomas. He hasn't been part of the team for a little while, anyways. But I want to say he's like officially gone now. So they really
a
don't have
free
any
agent
weapons
right
to throw
now.
to.
He signed that 1-year deal there, Cuervo. He's actually a free agent, and just goes to show he's not signed anywhere, and he's still a free agent. What does that say about Michael Thomas in reality?
Well, I think it's more about his health than it is his attitude. But it's, on the other side, I think the thing that's going to do the Saints in is their coach, Dennis Allen. I think that this is a coach that these guys don't really play for them, so to speak. I think there's a lack of respect in the room. I think that there's a lack of effort. I think that you're going to see that on the field, and whether you're a guy that played the game or if you're a guy that just has watched a lot over the years, you can tell when a team is putting in the work,
Yes,
and when they're not. And I think that's what you're going to see from the Saints this year. You're going to see a lot of situations where it's similar to what happened with Philadelphia at the end of last season, where they were just like, the hell with this. They just their hearts weren't in it, their minds weren't in it, and they were just like, we don't even give a damn about winning this football game. And I think you're going to see that a lot. And to be honest, I'll even slap the table on this, Sonny. I don't know that Dennis Allen makes it the whole season.
And that was going to be one of the things that I thought about, and the main reason is that of last year it was not good. It was just god awful. So when they played last year, they were bouncing in and out. You didn't know about Michael Thomas. I don't know where his head is in reality. The only team that might sign him would be the Saints, or if he was that good, or people didn't think he was that much of a head case, he'd be on an NFL football squad right now, based upon some of the things and some of the injuries that we've seen right now through preseason, and guys that you want to have on your team. So that being said, that when I'm looking at the Saints, I see this guy getting robbed. Okay, I mean, over 1,000 yards for the last 2 seasons, 9 touchdowns. I'd like to see them target Chris Avole a little bit more into the in the end zone. So we're not getting that in reality. So having a guy with that much talent and not on a team that can make him better. That's what I worry about, him and his talent. So I'll shoot it over to Will. Will, when you look at the Saints, and first of all, where do you think that you see them within the division? And then what's your take up on what you're seeing, right now here in training camp, and based upon their personnel?
Well, honestly, I would have to disagree with both of you on the last place finish for the Saints.
Okay.
I think that actually belongs to the Panthers, because I'm not sure if we're gonna dig into the Panthers after this, but
we are.
Okay, well, I'll save my analysis for what I have to say on why the Panthers will finish last instead.
Okay.
But I just don't think that the Saints they will finish last. They have a lot of veteran presence on this team, with Cam Jordan and Marcus Lattimore and some of those veteran guys over there. I'm not that confident in Derek Carr myself, but I am confident in some of those guys that are on that team still. I'm not sure they lost just too much. They did still finish top 3 in that division last year and managed to not be last place, although the Panthers were not that good of a team last year, and I don't see them being that good of a team this year either. I haven't seen too many additions that the Panthers made to put them over the Saints, so that's why I just don't think that.
Just kind of, we heard you there, Will, but I don't know if your volume is a little low, so I don't know if that'll help you there or not. But that being said, I did hear what you were talking about, and not feeling well about Derek Carr. Not a lot of people do. I mean, obviously, coming from the Raiders and what they're doing, but this is what we've seen from Derek Carr last year. Now, you take a look at these numbers. You're not. You're saying, and this is 17 games played. 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns. the 8 interceptions, which is a lot lower than what we've seen from him in the past as well. 68%. I mean, you look at the numbers, you go, that is not half bad. But then again, it's not half good neither, based upon where you ended up in the standings last year and losing games. And I hate this. When you see a team and you know that team should win and they fall to a team that is so less superior than what they are, it really drives me nuts when I see it. And that's what you were getting with the Saints. Now, the Saints also with Taysom Hill, how are they going to work him into the lineup? Are they going to keep him at the tight end? Are they going to keep rolling him in at quarterback? And I've never felt good about that whole situation. Either you're going to have Hill as the quarterback or you're going to have Carr as the quarterback and put Hill in the lineup each and every play. But he doesn't play each and every play up on the offensive side of the ball. So that's one of my worries about where that is. Now, Taysom Hill, let's not feel sorry for him. He got paid. So since he got his money, you got to kind of, not feel too sorry for him. But at the same time, I would just wonder what he would be week in, week out as the quarterback of that football team. And I'm not necessarily sure what that's all about. It. So Cuervo, taking a look at Derek Carr, you saw the numbers. I'll put them back up there so you can take a peek at them. What's your take upon Derek Carr coming into the season and your expectations of Carr from week in, week out on that football team?
Yeah, I mean, I think 25-8. I don't know if he's going to match that. That might shift a little bit. He might turn the ball over a little bit more, and that's because I think that their offensive line is taking a step back. They lose now that I got my stuff up. Andrews Pete is gone from the team, and that was one of their starting offensive linemen. So to not have a solid offensive line like you've seen them have in the past, that's really going to not bode well for Derek Carr. And so, and on top of that, Dennis Allen is a defensive-minded coach, so he doesn't necessarily focus too much on the offense. And I just think that they're just going to take a step back overall. And I love some Alvin Kamara, all right, but what I've seen from him in the past year or two, he's not the same guy he was for the first few years he was in the league. So, all those things factor in, Sonny, to why Derek Carr is not going to have the same type of year that he had last year.
And whether or not that they can find somebody besides Chris Avole to get the ball to in the passing game is going to be huge. And I look at Chris Avole, and just to give Will an idea, I look at him as a step up number 2. Okay, what that means is that he could be a starting wide receiver on a bad football team someplace else. He could be the guy. He could be the number 1. So step up number 1. They're still missing that number 1 guy that they can go to in reality in New Orleans, as far as maybe having an opportunity to have Derek Carr be successful. If they're going to depend upon just Chris Avole, that might handcuff them throughout the season.
Well, that's kind of the same sentence or the same, verbiage that they were kind of giving CeeDee Lamb, before, he got his opportunities last season.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't necessarily calling him a number 1 wide receiver. After the Cowboys traded away Amari Cooper, they were saying that was a mistake, that the Cowboys shouldn't have did that because, CD hadn't necessarily shown he was a true number 1, and maybe with Michael Thomas being on the team, that kind of took away from Olave's targets. So with him being the number 1 wide receiver for a full season for the New Orleans Saints, maybe he could potentially show, that he could be a number 1 wide receiver and that, he could take that next step and show.
Yeah, and they've got some players. Don't get me wrong. I mean, depending on what you think, Vole obviously is going to be the number one. Shaheed is going to be up on the other side for him. Cedric Wilson Jr. I kind of like him, and A.T. Perry. I kind of like him after that, but I don't see them as being a big part of the offense as I think you might be able to see. And also the running back with Alvin Kamara, you're right, Cuervo, but I want to see Jamal Williams. I want to see that guy take over the running back position for the Saints and have him take that step forward as far as being the guy. Wouldn't you think, Cuervo?
Well, I mean, he did I want to say it was 2 years ago, Sonny. He led the league in rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
And so I don't know if he'll be able to accomplish that again, but I get what you're saying as far as him taking over as the number one. I don't think that's going to happen, and I do agree with Will. I think Chris Olave is a number one receiver even on the Saints. The CeeDee Lamb situation is a good comparison. Because you look at Dallas's offense, you look at New Orleans' offense. To me, I think they're similar. The offensive line is the difference, but when you look at skill position, I see the same situation where you got a quarterback that gives you good moments, but doesn't do in crunch time doesn't do enough to get you through the playoffs and things like that. Run game is kind of iffy. But you got that one shining star at receiver that you can go to make plays. Other than that, though, it's a drastic drop in between number one and number two.
Definitely.
And then their tight ends are, Juwan Johnson in New Orleans. And then you got with the Cowboys, Dalton Schultz is gone now. I think it's Ferguson, right?
Yeah,
Ferguson. Is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like, he gives you a little something every now and then, but yeah, the run game. I don't know. I mean, Williams, like I said, he could be a guy that gets some red zone touchdowns and whatnot within the 10-yard line. I just don't know if it's going to be enough, because I'm looking at this defense, guys, and they added Chase Young, and that's cool and all. I just it is how long before he gets hurt? And I hate to say it that way. I'm not wishing injuries on him. We have to look at his past, and we have to say it's a matter of time before something happens where he may get injured again. So, and then Marshawn Lattimore, I mean, is he the same player he once was? I don't know.
All right. That being said, we are going to take a left turn because I don't know how long we have him, but he is in the green room. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait.
Can you dig it, sucker?
He is the only. By the way, such a great guy. Love to see what he does out on social media. But how about this? The best smile on the internet. It is the one, the only Bryce from Brooklyn. We're not worthy, my friend. How you doing, Bryce from Brooklyn? Good to see you, my friend.
Oh, my Lord. Always good to see everyone.
Did you miss us, Bryce?
As always. I appreciate the intro. Too kind, but I know it's a setup because the chair shot is coming as soon as we dig into the topic, so I'm not falling for it.
And it's only August, Bryce.
My first time seeing and meeting Mr. Will Bush. Hello, I'm Bryce from Brooklyn. Good to meet you, sir.
How's it going,
He is
bro?
going to be with us on the Saxy Mustang calls, and so I'm actually really excited about that because that's right around the corner. We start in Coppell, and so I'm excited about that. Now, that being said, we're going to take the left turn because I don't know how long we got you, so we're going to go ahead and hit into the AFC North and our predictions of what we see of the team. This is not my order, by the way. I just want to let everybody everybody know it's not necessarily my order. I was worried that someone might think that that's what it is, and it's not. But Bryce from Brooklyn, I want to start with you, okay? Because we're going to hit right into the Steelers, and then because I don't know how long we got you, but yeah, I want you to take a look. Here, just some things when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here is their schedule. Their schedule, I will say, at parts of it can get brutal. I mean, part of it, when you look at it, if you're a good football team, you should be able to beat this team, kind of thing that's going on. And then you got to ask yourself the question, though, Bryce, and I know you saw what happened last night. You can't feel too good so far based upon your quarterback play about your Pittsburgh Steelers and what they may or may not do based upon what the schedule is going to start off. You do get a break supposedly early, depending on what you think about the Falcons, but the Broncos and Chargers and Colts, it's a pretty good schedule to start out the season. If you're a good football team, those teams you would think that you should win. But my question would be to you, do you think they can?
All right, so let's jump into this. First and foremost, before we do that, I need to get some context. Will, who is your team?
Right now, I would say I'm a free agent.
He don't have a ride or die, is what it is. Like you and the Steelers,
Ride
me and the.
Honestly speaking, man, I am always a diehard Cowboys fan. But right now, I cannot cheer for them because Dak Prescott is the quarterback, and I do not believe in that man. We kind of talked about that. We expressed that a little bit earlier, Bryce. You missed that portion a little bit, but
here's his answer to the Cowboy fan.
What?
Yeah, so yeah, I get it. And my answer to it. That being said, so you got what's going on, Bryce? You got what he wants.
I only ask Will because I don't know if you're familiar. You probably are with the Podfather. He is our resident Cowboy fan as well. And we all get it on this show. So I just had to first make sure you had a team. I want to know what that team was because I know when the vitriol starts coming, I know how to make sure my answers have the right context to the person.
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real. But now I understand that. All right, let's dig into this. AFC North football, the best division in football.
I agree.
The toughest division in football.
I agree.
The Pittsburgh Steelers last night, first two preseason games. First and foremost, this is difficult for me because if you remember last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers were lights out when it comes to the preseason. I mean, they were scoring left and right. The Matt Canada offense looked like Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid together. I mean, my goodness. Let me see how that turned out. Mm-hmm. So while I'm going to get into some of the things I didn't like, let's make sure we take it with a grain of salt. Let's not be like Sonny Clark likes to get, Will, and just start going crazy with the first thing he sees without offering any context. So let's first do that. That's number one. Number two, these things are going to take a lot of time to gel. First off, the Steelers drafted Broderick Jones last year. They played him at right tackle. Omar Khan, the GM, has said his future is at the left spot. That's what they drafted him for. Tomlin has done this weird thing where he's practiced him at both. He hasn't settled in. I think he has a little bit of an elbow injury, even though he doesn't talk about it. He's wearing a big brace. He got ran through last night. He was getting bullied, bad hands, exposing his chest.
Oh, that was terrible. Crazy knucklehead, terrible.
He was awful. Afterwards, the media didn't talk. He didn't talk to the media because they had to see the doctor. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets announced. I could be wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets announced that he's had to have surgery on his elbow or has to sit or something. He just didn't look right. He's never looked that bad. Even playing a little out of position at right tackle, he's never looked bad. In terms of the starting offense, look, you're going to have Nick Herbig got hurt. He's a backup. He's a guard, longtime guard that can play center. He may have went in as the starter. You know, we drafted Zach Frazier from West Virginia. Frazier's going to step in. He's a rookie. Faatanu's been hurt. He's a rookie. Yeah, I like him. Troy Faatanu from Washington, drafted to play right tackle. He hurt his knee. He's going to probably have to start because I think Broderick's going to have something going on with him. You got Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle, very average. I think he's had a good preseason, but I need to see him elevate in the regular season. I say all that to say the offensive line, that's going to take some time. I'm already strapped in and ready to just ride that kind of wave. This is total BS. There's talent there. That's going to take some time. In terms of the quarterbacks, hard to evaluate. I thought Russell Wilson, when he did throw the ball, good placement, threw a couple nice balls, but I mean, he was under siege from the moment he got the ball because the offensive line was just not very good last night. Defensively, like what I saw from the front seven, backups, I think wore down, like Tomlin said, not enough filling holes, DBs not cracking, replacing, not tackling. So I felt they kind of gave it up a little bit in the second half in terms of the backups and the run game. But some of the backups we've been wanting to see played with the first team, and they were very stout against the run. DeMarvin Leal, Montravius Adams, liked what I saw. I liked what I saw from our secondary in terms of the passing game. The Bills didn't look very well. Mitch Trubisky, just for the Bills, just looks like Mitch. It burns me up. You still see Cuervo laughing in his house at me when we signed him in 2022. It ended up exactly as we thought it would. And just to see the Bills, just I don't think Mitch Trubisky knows what he's looking at. I really don't. I don't think he can read a defense. So overall, Sonny, you're right. Wasn't a great game to watch on either side. The Bills won. But look, it's preseason. I can't go too crazy. I know the offensive line is going to take a lot of time to gel. I want to see the offense move the ball a little bit. But there are some good things that I did see.
Gotcha. All right. So we talk about 1 through 11, grade your 1 through 11 as you think of it right now. I just wanted to get that up because I got them C- at best. What's your take up on 1 through 11 based upon personnel? Obviously, we haven't seen them a lot here in the preseason because, they don't play a lot. But at the same time, going into the season, what do you think from 1 through 11 is their grade?
That's a good question. So when I look at the Steelers starters, first, let's start with the defense. My biggest concern on the defense is I wouldn't say concern. How is Dante Jackson going to hold up?
Okay.
He had a good PFF rating in terms of man coverage last year. They trade Deontay Johnson to Carolina to bring in Dante. They've had their eyes on him. Can he hold up in the passing game? He's got a lot of speed, Sonny. So he really injected a lot of speed into the defense, so he can run with you. Let's see how that holds up. Joey Porter Jr. Is he gonna ascend and take that next step? Yeah. Really good rookie year. Is he gonna do that? Is he going to have a sophomore slump? We'll see. The depth on the defensive line is my major concern. That's
the 12 through 53 that we always – you term the phrase here in this one. 11 to 53 is where your team is made up of, whether it's just one guy not playing well or injuries or who has to step up and win. What's your take on 11 through 53? And now I'll shoot it to Will.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern because if you look at the starters, Cam Hayward is a potential borderline Hall of Fame type of player. Will he get in? I don't know. But I think people are having that conversation. But he's older. Keanu Benton, drafted from Wisconsin, good rookie season. I mean, that guy is ready to ascend. Larry Ogunjobi, I think he's a little overpaid, but he's been okay. He's been pretty solid. He doesn't provide the pass rush you want, but he just doesn't over. He's pretty stout against the run. He's had a really good preseason. I think the starters can hold in. The biggest concern for Pittsburgh, and you remember I said this, Sonny, is depth on the defensive line. Yep. If they start to wear down, are they going to get pushed around? Because if they do, then it's not going to matter the quarterbacks they play. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. It's going to be barbecue chicken because teams are going to be able to run the football. The second level, look at the linebackers. You got Landon Roberts. That guy can play. That's a thumper. He brings the heart. He can move. He was better in coverage than people gave him credit for last year. Patrick Queen, come on now. We know Pat Queen can play. T.J. Watt, to me, best in the world. And Alex Highsmith, a great running duo who had like 10 sacks last year. Like, so you know the linebackers, when given an opportunity, are going to ball. Can the defensive line hold in there? And I think you got Minkah Fitzpatrick. They're playing him more in the post, so they're not going to try to move him around. Let him be the Ed Reed type of player that he is and make plays. And so 1 to 11 on defense, feeling good about that. I'll get your thoughts on the defense before I go to the offense.
Okay. So I'll shoot it over to Will just really quick. You heard the analysis from our resident Steeler fan. As an outsider, I don't know where you stand on the Steelers, if you like them, hate them, or whatever the case may be. What's your take upon what you hear, or what you even think about what you're seeing as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers are concerned?
Sonny, real quick, this is the Cowboys fan, so let me get ready for what I'm going to do.
Hey.
Steelers and Cowboys have no love lost between them, so.
No love lost indeed. No love lost indeed. But I will say you are not too far off, Bryce, on your analysis. The defense 1 through 11 can probably stand up against any defense in the league. From what you said, Alex Highsmith, T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr., these guys have a lot of guys on the defense that can go fly and go get the ball. And that's what you want to see. Outside of T.J. Watt's health, what can this Steelers defense do? Because we saw a lot of seasons and last season, whenever T.J. Watt was not on the field, his production was felt and missed heavily.
Always.
On the offensive side of the ball, who's the number 1 wide receiver? That's really the question on who can be the number 1 wide receiver, because George Pickens, yes, he is immensely talented, and you can probably put his talent up there in terms of top 10 in the league, because he can make probably any catch in the league. But can he be a consistent and solid number 1 wide receiver?
Very fair.
17 games.
Or can he get open?
Exactly.
And that answer for all the wide receivers. Can you get freaking open? Because we're not seeing it.
That's fair.
Exactly. And we already know what that quarterback situation is. Can somebody seize the job? It seems like nobody wants it. Russell Wilson is coming in, talking about his leg, and Justin Fields, whenever he gets the opportunity, he looks like he's fumbling it away. So, somebody's got to take that starting job, because it goes back to the old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1 quarterback.
Okay.
And he stole my line. I've been waiting to use that one. Thank you, Mr. Bush. You know exactly what I'm talking about there. But I thought that through the whole thing when they grabbed up Justin Fields. Oh crap! What's going to happen here? And especially, forget about college. You got that in college. If you don't have one, if you don't have a number 1 and you got 2, you're in trouble. It's even worse in the NFL. So somewhere up on the pedestal, that needs to change as far as that is concerned. So Cuervo, I'm going to throw this thing up for you. I want you to take a look at it, because I don't think this. And if they don't give this thought, I think they need to get their heads examined right here. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, because of what happened with J.J. McCarthy, more in the fact that the Steelers, are they going to dedicate themselves to a Justin Fields? It could be the thing that Justin Fields needs to know, that he will be the guy if they go ahead and make that change. That just depends upon what one head coach and ownership thinks of the guy, Justin Field. What do you think, Cuervo?
Lord. Yeah, what do you think, Cuervo?
So, Bryce, you knew it was coming. You knew something was coming from the great Sonny Clark, and there it was. We've had it for 3 months. Let's trade him away.
It's already starting. We're already going off the rails. I'm just glad to see Will's here to witness it.
Well, hold on. I mean, isn't this I'll just ask this, and seriously, if you don't have Russell Wilson, does that elevate Fields' confidence of being, wow, they got rid of Russell Wilson. They're coming to me. Does that help? I mean, and that's my question when I threw that out. And by the way, there's a couple of other places Wilson could land. It was just more obvious about what's happening up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, so Bryce, I mean, wouldn't that change the attitude of the offense without a Russell Wilson there, and you don't have to worry about it anymore?
This question, it
Go
really,
ahead, Bryce.
Sonny,
I got my thought, but go ahead, Bryce.
Sonny Clark. No, you know what? You go, Cuervo. Let me hear what you have to say first. Go ahead.
I think Bryce needs a moment to wrap his head around what just happened right now. the last 2 minutes of what just happened on this show. No, you know what, Sonny? It sounds good. Like, oh, they traded Russ away. You know, they believe in me, and I'm going to be the starter. It sounds good, and that may boost his confidence, but it's also going to, in my opinion, I think it's going to stunt his growth even more than what it already has. Because to have a guy like Russ in the room to learn from, that's what Justin Fields needs. He needs that. And unfortunately, in Chicago, they weren't able to bring that to him. But he has an opportunity now in Pittsburgh to learn from somebody that has been a playoff quarterback, who's been a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that knowledge, that mentorship that he can get from Russ. I mean, the intangible on that is through the charts. You can't put a number on it. You can't measure that, and that's something that Russ needs. So, as long as Russ, if they decide to go with Fields as the starter, as long as Russell Wilson doesn't let his ego get in the way and pretty much take it personal, then I think that would be the best situation for the Steelers. Is if that's what they decide to do. But yeah, to trade him, I understand it, because it's like, okay, now Minnesota needs a guy, unless they're going to really stick with Sam Darnold. You know, listen, you don't have to trade anybody. Ryan Tannehill's still available. If you really want to get another guy in the room, you can go sign a Ryan Tannehill up in Minnesota.
Well, I thought
so
you get rid of Russ and then bring in the Tannehill too. You know, it's an idea, but I you know, that's just kind of what I was looking at. But there is questions that
Sonny Clark is probably the worst fantasy football owner we've ever seen. Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, okay. What are we talking? All right. So that being said, yeah, this is what you got in the first preseason: 5 and 6, 67 yards, 2 sacks. That you were talking about that offensive line. You know, in week number 1, 2 fumbles, and Russell Wilson didn't play. We've seen what Russell Wilson did in the last game. You've seen what that right now, as far as this is concerned, there is a clear-cut starter in reality. When I'm looking at it, I'm looking I'm looking at Fields to go ahead to be your starter. But I know for a fact there's one person in this room that does not think that, and he thinks it should be Russell Wilson, and that's this guy right here. So if you're the head coach of this football team, who are you starting at the quarterback position going into week number 1?
First of all, there is no way on God's green earth that the Steelers are trading Russell Wilson, because there's no need to.
And
you know why? Because he is the starter. Russ, they are getting a look at Justin Fields to decide, okay, what is his readiness? How does he play? We need to get familiar with this guy. And we have to also think about, what could we possibly do for 2025? Let's make sure we see this guy in the preseason. Now, if Russ falters and starts the season and isn't playing well, then you could possibly see Justin Fields get his opportunity. But guys, this narrative that Russell Wilson isn't playing well or is cooked is widely overstated. Russell Wilson in the last 2 years at what we're saying is his most cooked. Oh, Russ can't play. Russ is on his way out. Russ is declining. At his most cooked, 42 touchdowns and 19 interceptions. That's a guy that's cooked. Okay. The Steeler quarterbacks, I don't think have thrown for half those touchdowns in 2 years that they had in the room. So Russ is going to be, one, an immediate upgrade for what they've had. Number two, when you see him in the preseason, in yesterday's game, the deep ball is live. The ball placement on the throws that he did complete looked good. He just didn't have no time because the offensive line was getting under siege. That's number two. Number three, Justin Fields had the fumbled snaps. We don't know, was that on him? Was that on the center? I don't know. There were 2 fumbled snaps. We don't know if that's on him or the center. We do know that has been a recurring problem. So we can't have that. Overall, Justin Fields has done some really good things. He's looked good. Some of his reads are still a little late, a little bit of a hitch in the throw. Some of the things, the footwork has looked a little better. He needs, like Cuervo said, he needs more time to be under, no disrespect, Cuervo, more consistent, solid coaching. Put him in a place where he can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest fan of Eberflus and what they did over there in Chicago and how he was set up for success. So having Russell Wilson, a guy who's playing good football and can play good football in an Arthur Smith system, around to help with that, win-win for both. There is no way that they're trading Russell Wilson to anyone, let alone the Minnesota Vikings. Can we please stop the narcotic talk?
You're telling me there's a chance?
There is no chance. That's what I'm telling you.
All right. Cuervo, the analysis of the quarterback position, we always talk about it up on the shows. Number one, it's got to be your main focus. And so I'll ask you, how do you feel about Russell Wilson being the actual starter? In reality, the written-in starter, but what you're seeing from Justin Fields, because he is getting the time more so than Russell Wilson. What's your take? Who do you think should be starting for the Steelers this year?
No, I think it should be Russ. I mean, he's the more proven veteran. He's the guy that gives the Steelers the best chance to win because I think he's the better quarterback from a pocket passing standpoint. All right. Gotcha. I think he reads defenses better. I think he makes better throws. I think he's got more experience. Like that's what you need in your quarterback. You somebody that can sit in the pocket. Because as Bryce said, I mean, he's still Justin is still a little behind on. I've seen screenshots of Fields missing open throws again, and it's like, it's like. That validates why the Bears made the move that they made, and that's not talking down to Bryce and the Steelers for making the trade to get Justin. They needed a guy that they can go to in case Russ goes down, and Fields is a guy that can fill in for you. He's got the good athleticism. He can make plays. Is he a consistent starter that can sit in the pocket, read defenses, and make the throws that you need him to make consistently? No, he's not there yet. But like he said, like Bryce said, a guy like Arthur Smith as offensive coordinator, who I think he's probably 10 times better than Luke Getsy, is going to help him. He's going to help him in his career. He's going to do everything he can to help him reach his potential. And at that point, it's up to Justin Fields. When he gets his opportunity, if he's still making the same mistakes and still running out there with the same bad habits that he's always had, you can't do anything about it. He is who he is. Just like I talked about with Dak Prescott and with Derek Carr. Those guys are who they are. Like, that's all there is to it.
Is he in a better place now than he was in Chicago? But as far as leadership, that he can look up to, because if you go back and read what they are saying, Nick Foles said the guy's not listening to anybody. He's got his own mind. So I'm wondering about that.
Well,
Well, I don't know if that's a Justin problem or if that was a problem in Chicago where the structure just wasn't there. You're getting structure in Pittsburgh. Let me tell you, Mike Tomlin, don't play with him. Don't play with Mike Tomlin. He will F you up. And he's not afraid to do it. So if Justin Fields wants to mess around, he's going to find out from Mike Tomlin. And Bryce knows better than anybody. Like, that's his coach.
Right.
Standard is the standard. Like, that's it.
Which he hasn't. Which he hasn't, Cuervo. Like Justin Fields done all the right things, working hard. He knows he's with, again, I don't, I unlike the host of this show, Sonny Clark, just don't take shots at the Bears whenever I get a chance. But I do think from a coaching standpoint, we can say that's
it's going to keep happening.
It's a more structured, established place in Pittsburgh. That's what Justin Fields needed.
Right.
So he's getting what he needs. Now, I do want to comment a little bit on, because you asked me 1 to 11 to the offense. I'll start with what Will said. I think that is very fair in terms of starting with the wide receivers for Pittsburgh. You've got George Pickens, I think, can be a number one, but you got to go out and do it consistently. I like what George has done, but it's also the mental and the physical. It's like you got to be in the game. You got to be going as hard as you can all the time. You've got to be that number one guy, because right now, outside of a Brandon Ayuk trade, the room is that room, and you got to be the guy. I think the room is a little bit better than what people are saying because they got a lot of speed. Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller. Van Jefferson has a ring. Scotty Miller has a ring. These are role players on the team, guys that are going to bring the right mindset. I think you wed them with a scheme that wants to run and play action and take advantage of their speed. Those guys could be a little better than you think. But overall, listen, overall, there's going to be some questions there, and I think that's very fair. When you look at we talked about the quarterbacks, talked about the offensive line. We look at the running backs. I think Pittsburgh has one of the best tandems in the league. When you combine Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, that is a strong running back tandem. You got Cordell Patterson to do the returns, to be the third running back. So I think that's good. And then at the tight end, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, second-year guy, mammoth tight end, good blocker, deceptive on the move, got good hands. We'll see what Pat Freiermuth does. I think he's ready to take that next step. He's been a good tight end. There are a lot of weapons there and pieces. The biggest addition for the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense, quite frankly, is not even Russ, Justin, and these other people. It is Arthur Smith. When you watch his offense, there's a couple play calls I didn't like last night, but overall, from the beginning, it looks like there's an adult in the room running a competent, professional offense. Even when they struggle, it looks like, okay, at least from a coaching standpoint, we don't know what Arthur Smith ultimately will be. It looks more professional. It looks cleaner. It looks more competent. That's the addition. Can he put these guys in better positions? Can he scheme open receivers that may not be, the big time number 2 receiver or a guy that still has to solidify himself? Can he create more space with matchups, play calling, and those type of things? So that's a big addition because coaching matters in the NFL.
What do you think about the question that has been shot to you from Soul Live? Did you like the quarterback moves that they did, or do you think there was a better opportunity for something else in reality, or what would you have done if you were wearing the GM hat?
100%. Shout out to Soul Live for the question. Look, I love what Pittsburgh did at quarterback. Number one, because quite frankly, the room last year, we saw what the room did. I'm not a Kenny Pickett basher. I don't feel he was put in the best position. He had to deal with Canada too. And Matt Canada was one of the worst offensive coordinators I've ever seen. But the reality is Kenny Pickett threw 13 touchdown passes. And I don't know why he felt in the offseason he was not going to get pushed and not get competition. And I didn't and the way he handled it with the attitude and all that. All you need to know is for the longest time, none of his teammates after he got traded came out and talked about, man, we shouldn't have, we wanted this guy here. Boom, boom. You never heard that. So whatever was going on, this is a clear upgrade from that. to Russell Wilson, who, again, at his most cooked, 42 touchdowns, 19 receptions over 2 years, and that's playing with Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
Please. And Sean Payton, Sonny, Cuervo, you know what I feel about him and what he did.
Yep.
Major with that. We had never seen anything like that before in football. Coming to your starting quarterback after being on a 5-game winning streak. Cut your contract or we're going to bench you. Never heard that before in my life. So he succeeded in spite of that. And then Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick. Ryan Poles keeps giving us things that help us. Shout out to Joey Porter Jr. for that 32nd pick. I mean, I'm very happy with it. I would have liked to see them draft a guy. I think you keep drafting them until you get them. Because you don't have anyone under contract for 2025. They weren't able to do that. But right now, I'm focusing on now, and I like the moves.
And they haven't decided on 2025.
Yeah, you don't know yet.
So that being said, we got the idea. We got the Steelers. I'll take it back to Bryce. Bryce, what's your take? Where do you think they end up in this division, in the toughest division in the NFL?
So right now, see, this is interesting because you lose Deontay Johnson, but you gain Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You gain Arthur Smith. If you had taken Russell Wilson and put him on this team last year, they won 10 games. That's at least 2 more wins. That's a 12-win team. So I'm going to say BA and AA, meaning before Ayuk, I think this team right now, I'm going to respect Joe Burrow and the Bengals and the Ravens. I think this team can win 10, 11 games and still finish 3rd in the division and secure a 6th playoff spot and a 7th spot right now. After Ayuk, if they trade for him, if they happen to get him, I'm only saying before Ayuk because you still got to know Arthur Smith. Can that next receiver step up? How long is it going to take the offensive line? But you add Brandon Ayuk. Now the receiver problem is gone. You got 2 guys that
fully agree.
They're going to give you a lot. Now it's about the offensive line. You've given your quarterback a really solid weapon. I'm going to say, but after Brady, they can finish 2nd in this division. They're going to get 10 for the division. So Ayuk adds, I think, an interesting dynamic where they definitely are going to compete for the division and possibly win that division with Ayuk.
I think without it, it's horrible. It's not a great chance. Will Bush, Steelers. Where do you have them in this division? You can do a before a nuke or an after a nuke. I tend to agree with Bryce. I've got them in 3rd. Without if they get them, I put them to 2nd. What's your take, Dollar Bill?
I'm gonna upset you on this one, Bryce. Before Ayuk, after Ayuk. Y'all are gonna be last place in this division, man.
Oh, and you
said, like you said, Bryce, this is one of the toughest divisions, if not the toughest division in football. It's talented from top to bottom. The Ravens had the best record in the league last season. They added Derrick Henry. Joe Burrow's coming back. We know what he is when he's healthy. Last season that he was healthy, he took the Bengals all the way to the Super Bowl. So, and then, you still have, all the other teams that's in that division that's, I don't know, the Cleveland Browns, their defense as well. That's probably your best bet to possibly finish last in this division, that'll be competing with you guys. But, I honestly like the Cleveland Browns offense a little bit better than the Steelers. There's a whole lot of question marks with the Steelers offense still, even outside of quarterback. Do they have a consistent run?
Okay.
Wait. Sonny, you have to let me respond to that.
Okay.
You have to let me respond to that.
I'm right in. That's what you got.
Because Dollar Bill Will is Dollar Bill Will. Let me tell you what's happening here. He is falling victim to the media people narratives about the Cleveland Browns.
Now, I'm usually one to form my own opinion. I don't go off the media.
Hold on, Dollar Bill. Let me tell you
Okay.
where you're doing it. Let me tell you where you're doing
Okay.
it. Let me tell you where you're doing it. Because we are now taking into account with Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett and Trubisky, the Pittsburgh Steelers still didn't finish last in the division. They were third, 2022, 2023. Now, why do I say that? Because people overestimate the fact that Deshaun Watson by name, you're like, oh, it's Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson by actual production and numbers has been terrible when he has been healthy. That team needed Joe Flacco to come off the couch and extend their season and to do well for them, because Deshaun Watson has been dealing with health, and when he has played, he has not looked good. His numbers aren't good. He turns the football over. I am not convinced that Deshaun Watson is going to come back and play the type of football that team is going to need to build on their season last year. I think the defense is good. It was not very good on the road. It's not a defense that plays its best football on the road. Can they overcome that? But that quarterback position, so vital. He has been awful when he has played. He has not been good. I would take the Steeler quarterback room right now over the Browns quarterback room.
Listen, what you say makes a lot of sense, because we have not seen very much from Deshaun Watson, and with him starting and with his history in the last 5 years, I've been hearing people talk about how great Deshaun Watson is. That's all I've heard.
He was great, Sonny.
And I've had people yell at me, what do you mean Deshaun Watson's not a top 5 quarterback? Yeah, I said it, he's not, because it's really simple. It comes down to this.
Not going to amount to jack squat.
I mean it. With him at the quarterback position, it's not there. So, Cuervo, what's your take up on where you think the Steelers are going to be within this division, based upon some of the things that we've been hearing from Dollar Bill and Mr. Bryce from Brooklyn?
Wait, Cuervo, before you go, Sonny, hold on. There was a time where Deshaun Watson was great. Let's not hate on Deshaun. I'm only talking since he started playing for the Browns, and the football he has played when he is healthy, it has not been good football, and that is pretty much universally been talked about. He doesn't look the same. Maybe that changes, but as of right now, I can't trust it. Go ahead, Cuervo.
And I think it even goes back to his last year with the Texans, where he didn't look good. Cuervo, what's your look?
My look on the Steelers, I think I'm with you, Sonny. I think they're a third place team, just because. But it's hard because if you look at this division, there's question marks for every single team. You got question marks with the Browns, and how is Watson going to look? When's Nick Chubb coming back? How is the room looking with Cooper and Jerry Jeudy? You got Cincinnati. I mean, obviously the number one thing is the situation with Jamar Chase. With the Steelers, you got the situation, with is Russ going to be ready week 1 or not? My biggest concern with the Steelers, and I know the biggest thing that Bryce talked about, I think you got to look at both sides up front and how they're looking on the offense and defensive line. I don't know if I was a Steeler fan, Bryce, I'd be holding my breath every time Russ drops back, because is he going to get enough protection to make a play? And then with the Baltimore Ravens, it's like, okay, yeah, they added Derrick Henry. That's cool and all. Can he stay healthy enough to really produce for them? Is he the missing piece that Baltimore's been looking for, that they've needed to get over the hump? And if they meet Kansas City again in the AFC title game, can they beat them because they have Derrick Henry now? Who the hell knows? Look, Zay Flowers was the reason they lost that game, right? But can Derrick Henry bring them a different element to that offense? So there's a lot of questions with this division right now. So it's hard to predict. But based on right now, at this moment in time, this exact moment in time, because of the fact that Jamar Chase is not in camp, he's not playing right now for Cincinnati, I got to bump the Steelers up to second. Because with Cincinnati not having Chase in the building for that team, now you got T. Higgins, and he's no slouch. T. Higgins he could be a number one on some teams.
Step up number 2.
But to not have a playmaker like Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, I don't care that Joe Burrow's back. That's great. That's great for them. But no Chase, that to me that bumps them down. And Cleveland, like Bryce said, look, the defense was phenomenal for Cleveland last year. They were actually rated one of the best defenses in the NFL, believe it or not. But Watson is the question for them.
Absolutely.
And who knows what you're going to get with him. So as of this moment, and of course, things can change. The situation with Chase can get taken care of. You know, look, Omar Khan is to be like, John Lynch, are we doing this deal or not? Let's make a move. Y'all are waiting for Brandon Ayuk to get off of his couch and decide if he's going to trade, if he's going to sign the deal or not. Maybe the Steelers should just move on and look in other places. But as of right this moment, given the situation with the teams, I got Pittsburgh finishing second.
One more quick question before I get to Bryce. With Michael Thomas available, we were just kind of talking about it when we were covering over here. With a Michael Thomas available, and there's only 2 teams that I look at a Michael Thomas to be able to sign for. That would be the Saints, go back to his team, or is the Pittsburgh Steeler life too much for a Michael Thomas to be able to handle? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm not impressed with Michael Thomas for the last couple of years. I think he's a head case. Could that head case change in Pittsburgh and he become the guy that he was, 4 to 5 years ago?
I don't think Michael Thomas does much to change that room.
Got it.
I think he's been little too injured. I'm going to tell you who I would like if you don't get – first of all, the Ayuk thing is out of Pittsburgh's hands.
Right.
The offer's there. They've already agreed with Ayuk's team from what the reports say. They know what they'll pay him. He's good with it. He's got to decide. Does he want to re-up with the 49ers or not? And I get it. Like, let me tell you something. I'm not a Steeler fan that's hinging my hopes on Brandon Ayuk. Would love to get him. But I understand he's in the power. He's got the leverage in that situation. He can decide what he wants to do when it comes to the 49ers, and I hope he gets paid. I think the 49ers, quite personally, have botched this whole thing with the way they've gone about it. And
how do you say how so? Just really quick, I'm interested.
Just the fact that they waited this long. Now they're over a barrel. You either pay this guy what he says he wants, or Pittsburgh will take him. And because of this, Brandon Ayuk can decide, because he's in that contract thing, he has leverage. He could say, "I'm not going to sign a long-term deal with you," and then teams are going to be like, "We're not going to trade for you." Because he has that right. So he's literally in the power position. And they waited too long, Sonny. So they put themselves in this position. Why they did that, whatever. But Pittsburgh's fine. Pittsburgh's going to roll with what they have, or they're going to get Brandon Ayuk. Either way, the train keeps moving. I love the way Omar Khan has played this. And, I'm totally fine with it.
Interestingly enough, with guys that are out there and what's going on, what team, especially within this division, you guys were talking about it, deficiencies in certain positions and guys who are available, who will they go for? What will they jump after? How does one guy who's available in free agency gives an opportunity for this team to step forward? And I don't know, Bryce, how much longer do we have with you?
I got about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, then I'm going to jump this to the next thing that in more in the fact Deshaun Watson. Let's run to the Browns because I find that a very interesting situation because you got Jameis Winston backing him up. And interestingly enough, with the few guys that are out there, I'm not and I've been bashing Jameis Winston before he even got out of Florida State. So that I think about him based upon some guys that are available. Is this a quality guy to have as a backup? If you get Deshaun Watson to go down, they seem like they're the best, kind of the same player. So I get the reasoning on why you pick up the Jameis Winston kind of thing. But what do you think about the Jameis Winston being the backup over there as far as that is concerned, Bryce?
I understand it. I mean, Jameis is a veteran. He can really push the ball down the field. He can throw the ball. Not much of a run. He's got some mobility, but not that much. But neither did Joe Flacco. You want a guy that can push the ball down the field. But see, here's the problem. See, this is another thing, and I'll go back to my man Dollar Bill Will. There's the same issue. Deshaun Watson. The Browns' offense is set up. We're going to stay ahead of the chains. We're going to run the football. We're going to play past you. We're going to detach our tight ends. We're going to use multiple tight ends. We're going to make you defend a lot of different areas of the field. We're going to keep you in base with those tight ends, be able to spread them out. You could do a lot of different things. I think Stefanski, much as it sickens me to say it, has been a good coach for them overall, particularly with this offensive system. The problem with Watson and the problem with Winston is that they turn the football over.
Yes.
And that for an offense like the Browns is a death knell because they want to stay ahead of you. They want to pound you. They want to shorten the game. But when you got quarterbacks like Watson that was turning the ball over, bad on possession downs, when you got Jameis Winston that can throw for 404 touchdowns but then throw 4 pick sixes from going the other way, you put your defense in a bind. You don't play to your strengths. At the very least, the 2 quarterbacks for Pittsburgh, just as an example, you can talk about them all you want to. They don't turn the football over like that. Aside from Justin Fields, the fumbling issues are there. But in terms of the interceptions and Wilson, they don't turn the football over as much. And when Pittsburgh doesn't turn the football over, they give themselves a chance. The Browns need the same thing, and their quarterbacks can be prone to turning the football over.
Dollar Bill.
Yes, sir.
You heard the analysis. You've seen what's going on with the Browns with their quarterback position. It's not just the quarterback, even though that's obvious a big part for every football team, your quarterback position. Nick Chubb is the main, I guess, focus of what, as far as the offense is concerned. Cleveland's defense is there. No one's going to argue that. We know what that defense is going to bring. But the offense is what's in question. If you get a Watson, who's supposedly a top 10 quarterback, and you get a Nick Chubb going at the same time, everybody on the same page, that makes them kind of a team that you got to worry about. The rest of the offense, though, is where I think the question lies. Because with all the talk that is going on, I'm hearing Amari Cooper maybe going someplace else, or what's that all about going on? Where's his head and things of that sort. What's your take up on the Browns going into the season, whether it's quarterback or just a full team in general? And I think we got Dollar Bill on a froze. Are you hearing them, guys? Okay, we just lost him. So I'll shoot that over to Cuervo. I'll shoot that over to Cuervo then. Taking a look at the Browns, what do you think needs to be in play here?
Needs to be in play is like you said, the health of Nick Chubb. That's going to be the difference between whether this team is able to start off, slow or be able to really implement the offense that they want to implement, because Nick Chubb's he's a difference maker.
Yes.
And if you don't have a guy like that on the field, then you're really limited on what you can do offensively.
Yep.
So having, whether Chubb is in or not, that's a big deal. And that's one of my bigger questions when it comes to Cleveland is he ready to come back? Because I don't think I haven't watched anything Browns yet this preseason, but I don't know if he's still in rehab or if he's ready to go. But the season, what are we, 3 weeks away now from week 1?
3 weeks.
So we need to know, as a Browns fan, we need to know, if you're a Browns fan, you want to know if this guy's going to be ready to go week 1 or there's going to be some pup time. Like, what's happening there?
Yeah, and there's really, I just put Nick Chubb in there, and there's not a lot of it. The only thing I'm seeing is that it gives little hope of improvement right now. They are saying exactly what he's the X factor for the Cleveland Browns and where they're at. So, Dollar Bill, what's your take up on the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, sorry about that. Lost connection that last time. But
all right.
Just touching on kind of what Cuervo was saying, Nick Chubb, he is a main focal point of this offense. And based off of some of the offseason workouts that I'm seeing on social media from Nick Chubb, he looks good. He's benching the 600 plus pounds and stuff like that, and doing the crazy amounts of squats. So, I mean, he looks ready to go. We'll see how ready that knee is come week 1. But back on their quarterback situation, Deshaun Watson, he is what you're going to get. Can we get that superstar that we're going to see that we saw in Houston, or will we get that small sample size that we saw from him last season where he had the banged up shoulder? Maybe he was in, maybe he was out. When he was in, there was a lot of turnover issues. He looked very unsure when he was on the field, and that's kind of weird and odd to see from Deshaun Watson. They do have a very good backup in Jameis Winston, who kind of does struggle from the same issues that he does have with the turnovers. But just that veteran presence in that quarterback room is a good thing to have. And if you need Jameis Winston to come in for 4 or 5 games, I don't think that is a major ask. But if you need him to win the season, I don't think that is something that'll definitely be done for. But Nick Chubb, it's definitely going to be the big piece. And can their offseason additions like Jerry Jeudy in that wide receiver room step up for Deshaun Watson or Jameis Winston?
Yeah, and as you see what's scrolling on the bottom, I don't like the fact that he's not with the team. He's not at the OTAs. He's training at his own high school. That tells me he's not even close. The devastation of that injury last year, the extent of the damage is what's causing him, and you're not seeing it there. He's going to have to work to get to the field more so than he's ready to be on the field, and I think that is a huge difference. It's the reason why I'm not a believer in Deshaun Watson. I never have been. I've never fallen for his hype. Yeah, he had 1 or 2 good years. Congratulations. But a full career as being the guy is first of all, we're not getting it. And second of all, his backup sucks. Yeah, I just said it. I don't give a rat's fat ass what anybody thinks about him. This guy sucks. He always sucked. He's going to continue to suck. And if he has to start, they're going to suck when he starts, and then they're going to lose. So that being said, they needed a better backup quarterback situation in Cleveland, especially with the understanding on where Watson is as far as his health is concerned. They need the better backup. And the simple fact of the matter is they didn't see it in Joe Flacco. Somebody in that front office needs to be fired. They should have had that guy right back there if that would have worked for Flacco. Now, obviously, he gained interest from other teams. He's in Indianapolis now, but still, you should have been on the phone and you had that guy after what he did to save your season last year and disrespect Joe Flacco with Jameis Winston. Oh, good God. They need that's why I have the Cleveland Browns finishing last in this division, because the front office can't get their heads out of their ass enough to get quality players to do what they got to do. And then the backups and things of that sort, you let your backup running back fly out of there when you had the best 1-2 punch. Somebody in the front office needs to be fired. That having been said, Cuervo, where do you have the Browns? And you can rip on me for that as well. I'm okay with it.
No, I'm not gonna rip on you. I do have a message for Bryce though before he heads out. But yeah, Cleveland's gonna finish last. I mean, I want to believe that the Browns are going to be a playoff team again. However, it goes back to what Bryce was talking about. It took Joe Flacco to get off of his couch and get off of our show, the Couch Potato Sports Show, and go play for the Cleveland Browns and lead them to the playoffs. Exactly. It wasn't Deshaun Watson. It had nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. So we don't know what the team is going to look like full time with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. We saw what it was at the beginning of the year before he went down, and it wasn't good.
Right.
And that's I get it that Chubb went down and whatnot, but with Watson leading the offense, Watson taking the snaps, Watson commanding the line of scrimmage, it just wasn't a good situation for them. So before people are want to say that they're going to be a playoff team, they were a playoff team, they're going to do it again. Don't forget that was Joe Flacco resurrecting that team and getting them to where they needed to be. I think they won 6 out of their last eight games or something like that to be able to get in.
Yeah,
because he took over around Thanksgiving time.
Week 1 through 5 is going to be the big difference in this season. How they're going to jump out of the gate, if they're capable of jumping out of the gate, because the Cowboys, Jaguars, the Giants, if they can't beat the Giants, they should just go ahead and just wrap up the season. And the Raiders with their Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. These are the games, if this team is any kind of good, they should be able to win. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that or not, and move forward with that. So I have Cleveland in last place. Bryce, where do you have Cleveland finishing in the division?
Oh, he's got him in last.
Yeah, sorry, Obi, if you're listening, I got you in last.
Yeah,
I got you in last. I think your defense, is a good defense. I think it's well coordinated. But you have, contrary to what people may think on paper, you hear Deshaun Watson, you hear Jameis Winston, but those guys I think are very unstable at the quarterback position, particularly Deshaun Watson. I could see that situation in Cleveland going off the rails more than people think.
I agree.
Because of expectation. I still think at linebacker, the Cleveland Browns need a guy to show that they can be a Roquan Smith or a Patrick Queen. They haven't. I think if you can get their defensive line blocked up, there's plays to be made in the run game. If you can get to them linebackers, I don't see them as dynamic. I like the Cleveland offensive line, but if you don't have Nick Chubb, then you're going to need that quarterback, because that quarterback's going to have to take advantage of Joku and Judy and Cooper, a good passing game, good skill guys, but your quarterback has to be there with the ball. Stefanski will still run it, and I respect it, but I think that team is very, very vulnerable. And if Deshaun Watson this year does not produce, they are just stuck with that contract.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, can your front office continue to build around a contract like that when you start losing guys and guys want more money, but you're not getting the production you thought you would get from the quarterback position for a contract like that? I got the Browns finishing last.
Dollar Bill, where you got the Browns in the standings?
Well, I mean, I kind of touched on that earlier, but Bryce, I got them finishing. I gotta give them the edge over the Steelers. Okay. I got them third in this division. I just like their skill guys just a little bit more than Pittsburgh's. They have a little bit more solid foundation at running back in those other skill positions. They got Njoku at tight end, like Bryce touched on, who's a very big dynamic playmaker. They got that offseason addition of Jerry Jeudy. They still have Amari Cooper. So a very solid, strong veteran core presence in their receiving room, as well as Nick Chubb coming back. They did add Donta Foreman, from the Chicago Bears, who was a very strong running back, touchdown, red zone producer. So I really do like their skill position players better, and we already know what that defense was, top 5 in practically every category in the league last season, bringing back everybody from that past season. So with that being said, I'd have to give them the edge of finishing 3rd place over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And Cuervo, where did you have the Browns?
I had myself muted. Yeah, I got him finishing last.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so we got him finishing last. So that being said, with Bryce about ready to have to bail, and of course we love the fact that he was able to join us. 1 and 2. Where you got 2 more teams? You got the Bengals and you have the Baltimore Ravens. I think I know where you would be going. Quick look at that before you got to get out of here. You're on mute.
Absolutely, Sonny. And at number 2, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, it sickens me to have to do it, but I try to be unbiased here. I'm going to go because of the receivers. I think Chase will be there week 1. Now, look, I always look at these things, and I say this a lot. You got to really look at coach and quarterback. I'm definitely taking Mike Tomlin over Taylor, but Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback to me. And because of that, if he's back to full form, you got to go with the guy. You got to go with the team that's got the top 5 quarterback. Still got a good defense. There's some question marks there. I want to see what they do in the secondary.
Their secondary is horrible.
I'm not ready to say that yet. But I think there's some question marks there. Logan Wilson's a good linebacker. I don't think he's great. So this is tricky. I'm going to be conservative and go with the Bengals. This is another team that the Steelers could leap over if Joe Burrow stumbles out the gate, if his health doesn't hold up. The biggest question with the Bengals to me, Sonny, is can they consistently run the football without Mixon? Who's going to run the football for them consistently? We're going to have to find out. The tight end room is okay, but not great. So Burrow's going to have to be that dude. He's going to have to be Joe Burr and all that in order for him to do it. I think he's got it in him. I'm going to respect him because he's the quarterback, and they're better in the quarterback room than Pittsburgh is on paper. I think they're better. So I'm going to give him that. I'm going to put them at number 2. At number 1, I'm going to show respect. Again, it makes me want to throw up, but I'm going to show respect to the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson. I take Lamar Jackson over Joe Burrow. Number 1 as a quarterback, just as a talent. Lamar Jackson to me is that dude. I want to see can the Ravens build the passing game around Lamar Jackson. This has been, I think, one of John Harbaugh's biggest failures. Even though he has really adjusted everything to him, and I respect him for it. He did a good job. You still haven't developed a passing game around that. Now, before I go, let me be clear. This has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson throwing the football because, Cuervo, we know where this conversation can go when it comes to Sonny Clark and Lamar Jackson and his style. We know where that comes. We don't want to go there. I know Lamar can make the throws.
I do too.
The issue is
Willie.
Is there a passing game that's built around? What are they trying to accomplish? What are the route combinations they like, the type of receivers they like? What are the pass plays that they like that really get them going to build efficiency? I still don't see enough of that stuff when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens in the moments that matter. AFC Championship game being one of them.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where they should have been running the ball, but I just feel there's a mismatch there. So I want to see them figure that out. I also want to see what is that second corner. How does he hold up? You got Marlon Humphrey, but he's a little older. So we'll see. But I'm going to give the Ravens their respect, put them at number 1.
And going to you, Cuervo, I've seen your eyes roll, and I thought that was interesting. I want to get your take on what you just heard from Bryce.
No, he was probably rolling his eyes as you thinking.
Oh, I think it had to do with the. I think it was the whole taking Lamar Jackson over Burrow thing. I don't know if I could do that. Look, he's more athletic. He's more, talented from an athletic standpoint. I mean, but Burrow, man, that dude, you see what he can do. The dude's got ice in his veins, man. Like
Yes.
I couldn't do it. I think when it comes to clutch moments, situations where you need a play made, Burrow's that guy. I take him over every quarterback in this league minus Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
That's the only guy I wouldn't take over Joe Burrow.
So
he's my number 2 when it comes
to that. So you dug this.
Mahomes keeps it, goes behind the back. Kelsey's got it for the first down. How do you like that?
They've run that. You know what's funny? They've run that play before. But let me address something with Cuervo though. Cuervo, you know what's funny? In a lot of ways, I think traditionally I would agree with you. The problem is Lamar Jackson, and Sonny's going to go crazy when he hears this. Not only can he throw, but Cuervo, he is so elite when it comes to running the football that it's almost like as great as Joe is being cool and be able to make those throws under pressure. I don't even think that's as elite as when Lamar Jackson takes off with the football. Like he is definitely the best. I mean, we saw it with Vic, but I think he runs even better with Vic. His ability to stop and start and move and make guys miss. I mean, it's the best. I can now say it's the best I've ever seen from that position. And it's so unique that I think I'm going to put it a little bit above even Joe Burrow being able to stand in there and negotiate from the pocket the way he does.
Only thing I would say about that is I want to see him looking down the field more often instead of looking at the hole. Now, and that's in as far as what you said, I completely agree with you, thinking that he is the best at what he does. And there's nobody better in reality. And I said that, and I gave him that respect last year. Now, whether or not what's going to happen this season will put them through to where they can get to where they want to, that being not show up in the AFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl. And whether or not that's going to be able to happen, I don't know. And then my question, and I know this is going to, I wonder if John Harbaugh is the guy in reality to take that next step, because he's had that opportunity on many times. Now, granted, we want to throw the excuse of it being Lamar Jackson, but at the same time, you got to coach that guy to get over that hump. And last year was the first time we really seen it as far as they got into the playoffs. But when you laid the egg that you laid in the AFC Championship game, that still tells me he's still a regular season guy, because you're not going to see anybody better hardly, as far as that type of play in the regular season besides Lamar Jackson. That's just how good he is. So I'm going to give the guy props, but I'll also give him, that guy can throw the ball. This guy, the way he flips his wrist and gets that ball down the field is amazing. Now, if he can get someone underneath the ball and catch the damn ball, and I always say it, you can deliver the ball all day long, but you need someone to get the yakety yak on the end of that as well, especially with the way that play develops. So if you can get the yakety yak up on top of that, he's even going to get better. And I think he does take a step better at throwing the football and staying in the pocket. So I think that's what we may see. So Bryce from Brooklyn, always a pleasure. I am so glad you're able to make it on. We'll see you probably week number 1. Go ahead, Cuervo. Let me bring you in. Go ahead, Cuervo.
Yeah, no, it's always good to see Bryce. I just had one little quick message for Bryce before he steps out. Of course, it's always good to see you, Bryce. It's always good to see you. It feels like you fall off the face of the earth come summertime. But some of us do keep tabs on you, let me tell you, because you've gone to just about every show New York has to offer. So we know where you're at. We know that you're safe, and that's what's most important. But I just wanted to say that yes, while we have gift wrapped you some picks over here in Chicago that turned into guys like Joey Porter Jr., I just wanted to say that it must feel like Thanksgiving in August for you, and I want you to enjoy that I want you to enjoy that that second serving of Bear quarterback leftovers.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, man, I like it. There's a lot there. We'll see what happens. There's a lot there to work with.
You are right. We will see what happens because let's be honest, it's all about and where your Pittsburgh Steelers and where the AFC North lines up, I think is going to be very interesting at the end of the year. Week 17 and 18 are going to be really huge for this division of football. But look at week number 1, guys. Okay, here's your AFC week number 1 matchup. And
good games.
Good games.
Say, it's brutal. Except for the Patriots Bengals. And we're going to be talking about that because, where we get covering the rest of the NFC South for the rest of the show. But it's going to be a crazy week number 1 here in the new season.
Hold on, Sonny, real quick. See, you say that on paper, but let me tell you something. And the Bengals may blow them out. That could happen. But let me tell you something about the Patriots with their new coach. They're going to play run defense. They're going to be tough. And if the Bengals can't run the ball, that's going to make them one-dimensional. They better figure out how to run the ball because what do you do if you don't? I think Joe can throw you to victory, but that's going to expose him to hits. Gerard Mayo knows defense. They're going to blitz that guy. They're going to bring – week 1 can be wacky. They're going to bring all these different types of pressures. If they better figure out how to run the ball because – and the Patriots are tough to run the ball on. Because they play sound run defense, at least traditionally. So if they can't do that, that game's going to be a lot closer than you think. Mark my words. If they can't do that.
I'd go Patriots +9 on that one. Zach Moss is their starting running back. And
right.
That's not really saying much. Let's be honest.
We'll see. Yeah. You better.
Joe Mixon.
Because Gerard Mayo, you don't want to be one-dimensional. That guy knows defense. He'll come after you. And you don't want to expose Joe to more hits.
Absolutely.
Because his health has been a question. All right, guys, I got to roll, but
Bryce, always good
to see you. Will, man. Great hearing your analysis. Hopefully you'll join us during the season.
Yes, sir. Pleasure meeting you, and I'll definitely be on next season for all the rest of
Ready to hit me with the chair shot. You and the Podfather together, that's going to be something. Man,
he hasn't even met the Podfather yet, so there you go. Yeah. All right, Bryce.
My name's Steeler helmet, Bryce.
Yeah. The best smile on the internet right there. I'm telling you right now. That being said, that's the name of the show. Always good to see Bryce from Brooklyn. He brings a wealth of knowledge. Listen, I don't know anybody that can break down the Steelers better than Bryce from Brooklyn. It's just one of those things. He knows what he's talking about usually when he is doing it. So always good to see Bryce from Brooklyn. Now, that being said, I'm going to go to Dollar Bill and we'll figure out the rest of this AFC North and where you think that they'll end up. We got you with the Pittsburgh Steelers in last place. You got the Cleveland Browns. If I wrote it down, you got them in second place in the division. Is that correct? You're muted there, my man.
Oh, yes, I am on mute. Cleveland Browns, no, I have in third. Third.
I'll write that down. All right. So that being said, so the Cleveland Browns in third, and I got that written down now. That moving on, as far as the other teams within that division, we have the AFC North. Always that team, the Bengals. Here's their schedule, what it looks like coming up this season, and they get started off with the Patriots. We just kind of briefly talked about that. Chiefs, Commanders, Panthers, Ravens. So through 5, they got 2 games that if they're a good football team, they better win. Okay. If they're a good football team, you want to see them be able to maybe only lose one of the first 5. And that's probably one that you might give them would be the Ravens, because I don't know. Week number 2, I give the edge to the Bengals in week number 2 over the Chiefs, because usually a kind of a little slow start for the Chiefs until they figure out what's going on. But you want to see maybe 1 or 2 losses. But you take a look at Joe Burrow, what he did in the preseason debut here. This was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. 12 played touchdown, only played one series. They lose the game, but Joe Burrow looking as good as he looks, looking at the numbers, we see what happened. 16-16, and then the first year with the hurt, the first year and this last year, only 10 games. When you lose your number one quarterback to 6 games each and every year, that's not going to help you. And then Jamar Chase, with the contract holdout and everything, I expect him to get this done, because if the Bengals don't, they need to get their heads examined, fired the whole front office, because you don't want to take the best friend away from your guy at the quarterback position that puts up numbers. And listen, these numbers right here, these numbers should be higher in reality, but you're still missing 12 games without the guy that will get them there with Joe Burrow. So that being said, Cuervo, I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals, liking what I'm seeing. They're not. This would be the dumbest thing if they don't get Jamar Chase and just pay him the money, give him the $35 million, shut him up, and get him on your football squad. Now, does Jamar Chase need preseason? No. Okay. I don't think Jamar Chase needs preseason. That guy finds a way to get out there and win. If you sign him 5 minutes before the damn game, then you get him in there and you start him, and then they start going. What's your take up on what you're seeing from the Bengals? We saw the schedule. It's not a brutal schedule, but if you're supposed to be as good as you are, you should have a good season this season.
Let me ask you a question, Sonny. Why does Jamar Chase not need preseason?
I think there are certain players, okay, that can walk in if they are healthy. Okay, I'll say that if they are healthy, they need preseason like they need a hole in the head. So I kind of look at that, and I don't worry about a Jamar Chase. I worry about Joe Burrow because he's coming off injury. I don't worry about the starters. Like, I'll even say this, and I know Will won't agree. Dak Prescott needs preseason like he needs a hole in the head. There are just certain guys that can just walk in and do it. Listen, Dak Prescott wins 12 games this season for the last 3 years. You don't have to worry about Dak. He might have a bad game maybe within the first 3 seasons, but you know what you're going to get from Dak in the regular season. Everybody's just bitching about the postseason. So you know what these guys are going to do. I just think there are certain guys that don't need it. So what's your take upon that he don't need it?
Oh, I think he does need it.
Okay.
The reason I think he does need it is because, what I've learned in the past few years, Sonny, because I think I take preseason. I don't want to say I take it more serious, but I think I understand the importance of it more now than I have in the past.
I said that before you got on air, Cuervo. I said the same thing.
Okay. And I think that applies to 99% of guys. Okay. Here's the way I look at it. Football players, they all need to get reconditioned back into, doing things like getting hit from a physical standpoint, conditioning, being able to get hit again and getting that feel, get that feel back in, into their bodies and whatnot. And ultimately, the way I look at it is, if a guy like Andy Reid believes that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and those guys need to play in preseason games like they have been, like I'm watching right now, then Dak Prescott ain't no exception. Joe Burrow's no exception. Jamar Chase is no exception. Josh Allen's no exception. None of those guys are any exception. If those guys are playing, then shame on you for not throwing your guys in there. And I think that was the biggest thing last year with my Chicago Bears, and why they looked the way they did week 1 against Green Bay, is because Matt Eberflus, the head coach, said, they don't need to play. Justin Fields, 1 series, he's good. Yeah, DJ Moore, we're good. And then what do? They go out and they look like crap week 1 against Green Bay.
But it's
let me tell you.
Come on, Cuervo, that's the Chicago Bears, okay? I'll throw another one at you.
So,
okay.
See, this is the shot. This is the shot that Bryce was talking about, Will.
Yeah,
This
no,
is the shot
no.
that Bryce was talking about there, Will. Here he goes. Here he goes. Here he
It's the
goes.
Bears. Listen, and I'll even throw it to this point. I know this is the Lions need to do that. There's certain teams in the NFL that you don't have. Listen, Patrick Mahomes, I'm just going to say it. This is stupid. For him to even be in a football game in the preseason, I don't even care if it's for one drive. Let's be honest. He is the weight and shoulders of your football team. You lose him in a preseason game, you expect the Chiefs to end up third in the division in reality, which is where they're going to be. He's the guy that's holding on. Patrick Mahomes does not need preseason. Travis Kelce does not need preseason. There are certain guys that don't need, at least in my opinion. I get what you're saying and I see where you're going, but guys that have been doing it consistently on a year in and year out basis, like Tom Brady when he was playing, Drew Brees, they needed that like they needed a hole in the head. But the younger teams and things of that sort, Justin Herbert needs it. He hasn't proved what he can do. I'm just saying for guys that are established and ready to go, they need this like they need the whole head. It take them 2 games max to get where they need to go. And with them just being in the lineup, it improves the chances of them winning, even if they didn't go in the preseason. But I agree with you. I see where like young teams, like a Bryce Young, I can see where a Bryce Young would need something like that. He needs to be able to get reps. Certain guys don't need reps, at least in my personal opinion. But that being said, the Cincinnati Bengals, I think, are going to be, I don't know what it is. I got a gut feeling about this football team. I actually got them winning this division because it's just been too good for Baltimore for the last 4 years. And I mean what I say. I'm worried about a Jim Harbaugh losing his team and not playing up to the standards of an AFC championship team. And I don't know. I just don't think Jim Harbaugh is the guy to get the Baltimore Ravens to where they need to get. I think they need something else. Now, I don't know that answer of who that would be. I'm going to investigate that on who. But right now, I'm not feeling too comfortable with Harbaugh. I think they'll have a great season, but this is another team like the Dallas Cowboys have got to do better in the playoffs, and they have not been able to prove that they have been with Lamar Jackson in the lineup. So kind of give you an idea, that's where I'm looking at as far as my top 2. I got the Bengals winning this division, and directly right behind them, I think Baltimore's going to be there. But it's just one of those things. So I don't know. What do you think, Will? I know I might be out in left field on this. I know I might be depending upon the standard at the quarterback position, the guy that will stand in the pocket, be the pocket passer to beat a team that has a running quarterback. But I just think Joe Burrow's due. I think Jamar Chase, them two together. Now, they do need to get their defense set. I'm worried about their secondary. If they can stop it, but when you got a Joe Burrow, you can score points. What's your take? What's your look up there on the top 2 within this division as far as the Bengals and the yeah, so it's the Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens for you. What do you think? Who goes where?
So, Sonny, Cuervo, I will say this before I actually do have to head out myself.
Okay.
But I probably won't lean on the Cincinnati Bengals finishing first in the division. I still do have the Baltimore Ravens finishing first in this division. Like you said, Lamar Jackson is just very dynamic with his legs. If they do figure out this passing situation and this passing scheme and game for him, I think it can take this offense and that team to a whole new level, especially with the addition of Derrick Henry. We know what he is as a running back. I don't think he's lost a step. So plugging him into that offense that already loves to run the football, I think it's just guaranteed. As far as the Cincinnati Bengals, I think there are a lot of question marks outside of Joe Burrow. Who's the running back? I do like Zach Moss, given the credit. He did a lot of good things. filling in for Jonathan Taylor in mop-up duty. And, while Jonathan Taylor was out last season for the Indianapolis Colts, but still a lot of questions involved with that defense. You guys touched on it. The secondary is, let's just face it, they're not that good. They're burnt toast, barbecue chicken, whatever you want to call it. They're just not that good. And, they can't necessarily cover a mop bucket. So they have a lot of questions outside of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, we know what he is. He is a quarterback that can be plugged in on pretty much any team and take them to the championship or have them at championship caliber level. But outside of Joe, I just think there are just way too many questions. I do think his talent alone can elevate them to second place, but nothing else outside of that.
Gotcha, Dollar Bill. And as far as since we're going to get you skipping out of here, the NFC South, we got the wheel. We only got one team set, and that's the last place team being the Saints. What you got on your top three?
Last place team is actually going to be the Panthers. Yes. Third place finish. I think I'll go ahead and lean Saints. Atlanta definitely is gonna probably finish number one. I like their offseason additions. Kirk Cousins can definitely transform that team. They just signed and traded for Matthew Judon and Bates over there in the secondary. So they made a lot of moves. This is what Jerry Jones should take note in. And whenever a team goes all in, this is all in. Atlanta definitely went all in. I don't know if it's enough to take them over the hump to get to the Super Bowl, but definitely they'll win the division for sure. And then that leaves Tampa Bay finishing second in my mind.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good. Dollar Bill, always good to see you when you're ready. We'll be in touch because we got some things to do before that set up for the Coppell Cowboys taking on the Saxy Mustangs. So yes. I'll be in touch with you as far as that's concerned, getting you ready and getting you ready to go.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. And Sonny, I look forward to the future work that you and I do together.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. A little bit different look on what we'll be doing as far as that's concerned. So we'll be chatting to you. You have a good day, my friend. Always good to see you.
Yes, sir. You both have a blessed Sunday. It was great meeting you too, Cuervo. I'll see you guys.
Good meeting you, Dollar Bill.
You got it. Dollar Bill. He's going to be joining us on the broadcast of the Saxy Mustangs. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. All right. That being said, Cuervo, now we got the rest of the NFC to the South to talk about before you got to bail. You got bail in 15 minutes, right?
More like 20 minutes.
More, okay. All right. Very good. So let's hop back to it because this is a division of football. And we were just talking about it. The Falcons, a football team, I listen, I agree with what Dollar Bill said. It is all about what they are doing, who they picked up. And let me just grab this there. I think that's it. Here's some of the defensive playmakers that are coming. This defense is going to be one of the best in the NFL, I believe. So you're looking at what you got right here. Then you throw that guy up on top, but they pick it up. Listen, I hear everybody say this guy's overrated. I'm tired of hearing it. I thought this guy, he came in. Listen, you are not overrated getting 12 and a half sacks, okay? Last year it was down. But so was the whole damn team. So I don't think that you can really rip into that. But then you add on, Simmons of that. This, like he just said, this is what happens when you go all in. As far as that is concerned, then you got the offensive side. You got Drake London. This guy's heading there, and then it's the one and only. I saw this one, Cuervo, and I wanted you to see it. The passing touchdown, 17 in 17 games. Kirk Cousins, 18 and 8 games. There's obviously an offensive difference that is going to be taking place on the offensive side of the ball for the Falcons going into this season. I want to get your take on what you see in the Falcons and where you think they could end up.
Yeah, listen, I mean, like Will said before he jumped off, they went all in financially. They spent a lot of money to upgrade that roster between paying Kirk Cousins, signing a guy like Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, both Pro Bowl safeties. That the backside of that secondary is going to be nasty, Sonny. That's it right there. That between those two guys, 50 career interceptions. I mean, that's exceptional. So, and on top of that, you got AJ Terrell at corner. That secondary is going to be nothing to play with. So, and then they still got Drake London. They bring in former Bear Darnell Mooney. They've got some. I'd have to really take a deep dive into what they're looking like from an offensive line standpoint. But as you see right there, then they got Bijan and Kyle Pitts. So they got playmakers. That's not going to be the question. It's just protecting Kirk Cousins is obviously going to be the biggest thing. Can they do enough to protect him? Can they do enough to allow plays to develop so Kirk Cousins can get them the football? If that happens, then watch out, because the Falcons are going to be they're going to be a team, not just a team to mess with in the division, but just the NFC as a whole.
I fully agree, and especially with the emphasis on and listen, we can sit here and say a team is all in until they actually prove what they are actually doing from week in to week out here in the off season to improve their team. The Atlanta Falcons, obviously, and say whatever you want about ownership over there. We Cowboy fans wish they had. The guy is Art Modell, right? Art Modell over in Atlanta, doing what he's
the
doing.
owner.
Yeah, who's the owner?
Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank. Yeah, Arthur Blank. So and to
his name is Arthur Blank.
Point, I don't think he just wants to count money. I think Jerry Jones wants the championship. I just don't think he's the guy that is, and just like everybody's saying, he is the guy that is going to end up doing it or to help them do it. But as far, the Saints in this division, I'm tired of them being a bad football team. I always thought if the Saints are a good football team within this division, this is going to be a fun division to watch. Well, they haven't been jack in a long time. So, as far as Atlanta is concerned, their setup is weird. But how about Tampa Bay, Cuervo? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's where I was this is somebody's prediction on where they think that they'll end up at 10-7 in the games that they'll win. But the simple fact of the matter is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a football team that are, a team that, are they going to be good enough? Are they going to be able to take the step? You have Baker Mayfield doing what he's doing, but this number right here on the offensive side of the ball, regardless if it's Baker Mayfield, regardless if it's Tom Brady, those numbers need to improve if you're going to win the division. Never mind make a wild card spot in reality. So as far as that is concerned, Cuervo, I look at this football team as far as the Buccaneers is they need to definitely get that offensive side of the ball going. And they got the wide receivers. They got the guys that can produce. The problem is being able to get in there and do it week in and week out instead of spattered, because that's all we've seen from the Buccaneers for the last couple of years is spattered success more so than consistent success.
Right. And another thing on defense, they brought Jordan Whitehead, the safety, back.
Yes.
Tampa Bay did. He spent a year with the Jets, was like, I'm not really feeling it, and went back to Tampa to play for Todd Bowles and that Buccaneer team.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this up here because listen, we see what Mayfield is capable of doing. He got the contract, right? He got the contract, but if you compare him to this is not great. Okay. Yes, Tom Brady got that. They did what they did, right, Cuervo? Say whatever you want. Okay. But when you replace the GOAT after 2 years, this is what you're looking at as far as a Baker Mayfield. the numbers look great for Baker, but again, Baker is not Tom Brady, and the difference in that game with a Tom Brady compared to a Baker Mayfield, they're totally different. They're on different levels because of who it is and the different type of play a defense is going to play against a Baker Mayfield more so than a Tom Brady. Tom Brady has a way of making defenses look silly, but later in his years, we've seen a goat, kind of take a step back. But when it comes to crunch time and figure out what it needs to take to win, you always can depend upon Tom Brady. That's where Baker Mayfield needs to get his game to somewhat on that level so you can feel confidence going into this season as the starter. That having all been said, looking at the top two positions in the NFC South, who do you got in first and second place within this division?
Yeah, Sonny, you really look at these two teams being the Falcons and Bucks, and it's like, I don't want to say they mirror each other, but the thing I'm focusing on is up front for both of these teams, and I look at, okay, well, who's better up front? And honestly, from what I see, and this is why I'm gonna pick them to win this division, I think Atlanta looks better, especially from an offensive line standpoint. I think Tampa Bay's lost too much from what they had even as little as 3 years ago, when they had a really, really good offensive line protecting Tom Brady. A lot of that is gone now, whether it's retirement or just guys that are injured. So because of that, I give the edge to the Falcons, and then I got Tampa second, followed by Carolina third, and then the Saints finishing last.
Yeah, I think Carolina's an interesting team because they move into and this is somebody else's prediction on what they got. Hey, listen, I see them sneaking on some teams and beating some teams that they really should not be able to beat in reality. And that could be because, really, there's only one step. You only go higher from this point. From last year, Bryce Young, I don't think can get any worse than this. Okay. And if he does, then the Carolina Panthers are yet again going to have to figure out how they're going to address their situation at the quarterback position. 10 touchdowns to 10 or 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions is not going to help this guy become the guy that he needs to be for your franchise, but it is a step in the right direction. It's not worse than what we've seen from a Peyton Manning or a Troy Aikman. I'm not, believe me, I'm not comparing those two, to Bryce Young, but based upon the year that you've seen is what you get. And then the additions for this football team, they say whatever you want. You got to protect your quarterback. So they went out and got Hunt and Lewis, and then you got some weapons for him to throw the ball. I like the Xavier Legette in addition to this game, and Jonathan Brooks. But how does that look from week in to week out, for 18 weeks of a football season? That will be a big question. But I agree with you. I think the Panthers are going to be better than the Saints, and I got them in third, and I have Atlanta winning this division as well. So everything looking pretty good as far as the NFC South is concerned. So next week, Cuervo, it's time to bring home the NFC North and bring them into the division to talk about. And then, I think what I'd like to do is do the AFC East next week. And then we'll have only one more division, that'd be the AFC or the NFC. No. Which one are we missing?
Well, which ones did you do with Tom last week? Was it just AFC South?
We only did the AFC South. So, and we just did the AFC North.
Okay.
All right. So, who are we missing? We need to do the AFC. Oh, AFC and NFC East. We got to do those guys. So, and then we have your Bears. Those are the three, the NFC North. So we're going to do Bears next week. We'll probably get Trey in for the Dallas Cowboys. So let's do that. Let's do NFC East and the NFC North, and we'll finish with the AFC West just by themselves the week after. Sound like a plan?
Okay, yeah, AFC East for last.
Yeah, save that for last. And
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So we'll do that. And you got a bail. Congratulations. So tell me about the ultrasound here. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so my wife and I were going to be grandparents again, and her daughter, my stepdaughter, my wife's daughter, is due next month actually. Wow. So we're going in to get one last ultrasound before he makes his way into this world.
Gotcha. And we'll keep an eye out. If we don't see you on that, we kind of know what might be headed that way. So we'll hope for Monday through Saturday for that one to join into the world, where we could still get Cuervo. But if not, we'll understand why it is, and we'll send you off some messages and stuff as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Sonny. Yeah, the due date is somewhere mid-September, a little towards the end of September. So it could cut into week, I think 3 or 4 of the regular season. I think 3. Gotcha. But if that happens, I'll let you know, and I'll keep you posted on when the newest Bears fan comes into this world.
Is that what it is? A Bear fan, not a Bronco fan? No, not a Bronco fan. No, maybe
he's gonna be a Bear fan.
So,
well, I mean, Grandma and I, we're gonna go back and forth about it. But
yeah, you're gonna fight over it. I get it. All right. That being said. I got some stuff already set for the NFC East. As far as that is concerned for and obviously I got a lot of Bears stuff that are going to go on. So we'll have lots of slides like we did today.
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Yep. Hey,
I'm ready.
Where's it? I'm really interested to see where you think your Bears will end up this year. I'm looking for, and the reason why I almost waited to do the Bears last, but I after this next preseason game, I think it's on Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. You'll have a better idea on where you think your Bears will stand as well. And you're watching the Hard Knocks. Are you enjoying the Hard Knocks?
Not as much as I thought, to be honest.
Gotcha. I the one thing that came out of it is we probably won't see your guy under center, and I don't know what that means for your football team. I really don't. I worry about that. That's a basic part of the quarterback position, getting underneath center. I did not see one snap, at least in the first episode. I'm going to watch the second episode today, but not under center at all. I don't think that. Yeah, see, that's the step away from traditional football I hate. But if they go full, always shotgun, I worry about that. As far as the Bears is concerned. Well, we'll talk about that next week. We'll find out what's going on with that. All right, my man?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's going to do it for us here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. We're going to let Cuervo get on out of here so he can go take care of business. And next week, is this time okay for next week?
Yes.
All right, 9 to noon. We'll be up there 9 to noon talking the NFC North and the NFC East here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. And that being said, we're out of here, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.